Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
My name is Luca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a dream. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom. Here we go, guys. This is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States.FM network. You know, today is going to be a great show, as usually. You know, I try to bring you, first of all, awareness and understanding the news, or at least understanding the news from my point of view. You know, I have no agenda, as you know. I have no party, no allegiance to none but the truth. The truth and, of course, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and the foundation of the principles in the Declaration of Independence that this country, this republic, was founded upon. Now, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything, but I'm here to try to learn with you, and more important now, to try to find solutions. Because the reality is this republic was supposed to be a constitutional republic. Unfortunately, at least the last 80 years, 50 years, and of course right now, the last 20 years, I don't even want to tell you where we are, this is not more a republic for the people, by the people. This is become now some sort of oligarchy controlled by corporations and by special interests, where all these fact that we are here electing representatives going to Washington, it's a joke. Let's be honest. I mean, look at that. We send people to Washington and we see that all the promises they gave us, they are pretty much just promises. They are lies. And it's almost Washington, in my opinion, lost. Now, I still believe that there is some solutions, must be some solutions, you know. And I just try to figure it out which one. Our founding fathers, unfortunately, they were pretty good about trying to put together this Constitution. But as, John Adams said, the Constitution is worth it, is good, only if moral people, they're going to be working within the frame of the Constitution. I'm just paraphrasing it. The point is we have a bunch of scumbags right now, people that they sold their soul to this globalist agenda and to whatever easy extra buck they can make for themselves and their families. And they forgot the foundation. They're selling us out. They're selling out our rights, our basic principles of free human beings. So I'm just right here as a fresh, I'm not fresh anymore, but as a former immigrant, naturalized American, I'm trying to come out with the solutions. Now, as I said, this is supposed to be, in my opinion, a constitutional republic. It's not just, in my opinion, what our founding fathers envisioned. And we have a word that is being used many times by several presidents, at least the last, let's say, 15, 20 years, democracy, a word that I think is pretty scary. Because after all, the democracy means that 51% of the mob or the majority can sell or buy pretty much your rights. But they're doing the same job they're doing right now with our representatives, you know. We send people to Washington and they're selling us out our rights. So something must be done. Now, I can give you maybe my humble, solutions, but this is not about me today. It's about a guest that I'm really proud that I've met him, and I think it's good input, and it could be good material to try to be proactive. At this point, I think everybody has a solution or a plan, even if it's not perfect. I think it's welcome. Better than be just, a zombie watching TV and drinking fluoride. So we must encourage everybody that has some good ideas, at least some, ideas in good faith that they may be a solution. Today's guest, it's a gentleman that I never met in person, but I talked to him, and also I watched some of his videos. And I think it's very important that I'm very pleased to be with us today. His name is David Frank. David, are you there?
Yes, nice to be with you, Luca.
Perfect, and I thank you. Thank you very much. And as I said, I am here with no agenda, I have no parties. My only party is the foundation of freedom that this country is supposed to be based on, and we are losing our freedoms. And I think it's time to for regular people to get involved. That's why I'm glad that you're here, and I know that you have some good solutions, at least something that you work very hard. But before we go there, give us a little bit about your background. Where are you from? And, as a human being, as a person, what are you about? What do you do?
Well, excuse me, I'm from South Bend, Indiana, right near the University of Notre Dame.
Okay.
And I was a small business owner for a while, but probably more than that, I'm an activist. I turned into an activist about 25 years ago.
Wow.
When I first heard about NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement.
Yeah.
And when I heard about that, I guess I was on board when Ross Perot said that we were going to hear this big sucking sound.
Wow.
And he was so right, because what has happened was our friends in Congress who misrepresent us, like you alluded to earlier, they pushed through this economic plan for America that sucked the middle class right out of our country.
Exactly.
And, the reason our country was so great, compared to other countries, is other countries had the wealthy and the poor, but we had the wealthy, the poor, and the middle class, and that is what everybody was striving to be. But when they gave tax incentives to these corporations to dump the good jobs in America, the quality jobs, and give those jobs to slaves in other countries, which is basically bringing back slavery.
Yes.
And the crazy thing about this is after we had the uncivil war, to supposedly abolish slavery, and then these people in Washington passed laws to promote slavery around the world. And when I heard about that, I just couldn't take it anymore, and I decided that I had to devote my life to future generations and not leaving this mess for people. Fortunately, at my age, I had a good life. I had a great childhood. I know how great America can be, and for the last 50 to 60 years, I've watched it go down the proverbial toilet.
Yeah.
All because of greed at the top. And so that's why I decided that we need to do something, and that means change the system.
And this is exactly the point. This is why, for me, you are, as a guest, more important than many people that they consider themselves like, public figures or politicians, elected politicians, because this is about, at the end of the day, the way we're going to save this country, that we need more people like yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't need the Captain American coming down, with the airplane, from the airplane or whatever, like superhero. There is no superhero coming from Washington. This is going to be about regular people at night, looking at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, I got to do what I got to do, because otherwise nobody else is going to do it. And myself, yourself, we're going to live through this nightmare. But more important, I tell you, who's coming after us, it's going to be so sad. I really realized that myself. Even I've been just here 18 years, and I already came at the end of all this, but I just see a change so much in the last 18 years that I cannot believe it. So I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you dedicated your life and to do what I hope everybody should do. If every one of us can pinch in a little bit, we don't need to become martyrs. We don't need to, become some Francis of Assisi and living, in the wilderness and fight politicians all day. We could do it peacefully and quickly. Anyway, let's go back to business. You came up with this idea. I think it's very interesting, for sure. At least you got an idea. You think that's great. One Voice Now. What is exactly the concept of One Voice Now? What is the solution for you to all this corporatism? Because we are right now in a corporate republic. That means it's not about for the people, by the people, but it's about for the corporations, by the corporations. They buy our politicians, they buy our presidents, they control them, and they pass legislation to control us. So what is your solution?
Well, the corporations have a voice. They're using their money to, bribe our voice boxes, if you will, our representatives, there's something very important that your listeners really have to understand. You never bribe a judge or a juror or a politician to make the right decision. You always bribe people to make the wrong decision. And we trusted our politicians. We give them a handsome salary. They each make about $15,000 to $16,000 a month. They've got all the benefits in the world. I mean, it's incredible. But the bottom line is even though we give them a wonderful salary, they're still taking the bribes from the lobbyists representing the special interest. That was the relationship they also had with the mafia. The mafia used to bribe judges and police and politicians to make bad decisions. Well, somehow along the line, that organized crime system has become legal, and that's basically what's going on in Washington and state capitals, and even right down in your own hometowns.
Exactly.
People are being bribed to make wrong decisions, and what they're doing is they're basically stealing from us. They're stealing our time. They're stealing our money. They're stealing our future. They're stealing our visions. They're stealing our purpose. They're stealing our lives. And what we've got to do is take it back.
Exactly.
And we can't do that without a plan. Thousands of years ago, it was said that someday there will be a day where the last will be first and the first will be last. We now have the technology where we, the people, can now start having our voices heard on the issues affecting our lives. You know, when you watch these debates, you almost have to laugh that anyone would have such an ego that they could stand in front of 300 million people and say, I've got the answers for you. Well, they aren't the all-knowing. The all-knowing is what we all know, and the trick is tapping into what we all know. We have the technology now to really start tapping into the hearts and the minds of the American people, and most people don't realize that if you want to build a system that includes everyone, you don't build it from the top down, because we now realize the top-down systems benefit the people at the top. That's why 5% of the population now owns 80% of the wealth, which is leaving 95% of us fighting over the 20% that's left. That's why we are so divided, and our prisons are full, and parents are working till they can't work anymore, and these are all symptoms of a dysfunctional system. What we now have in the year 2015 is the technology that we need to give everyone a real and equal voice. And what the politicians figured this out a long time ago. What they started doing was remapping America with this process called gerrymandering. And for your listeners that don't know what gerrymandering is, it's remapping a district so that a politician can either get elected or reelected.
Yes.
And then the Postal Service figured it out a long time ago when they remapped America with zip codes so that they could deliver the mail better. The phone company had to remap America with area codes so that we could communicate better. And the American people and people around the world have to figure it out. And what we have to do is we have to remap America as well. We now have the satellite and computer technology to remap America so that it looks like a honeycomb. If you look at God's creature that's most responsible for making the world a beautiful place, it's a honeybee. And he stores the fruits of its labor in a structure called a honeycomb. Your community will now be a hexagon. If you ever look at a honeycomb, you'll see that it's made up of hexagons for whatever reason.
Yes.
But your community will now be a hexagon. The nucleus of your community will be your public broadcasting station. What we're going to do is we're going to use our public broadcasting station to actually broadcast the public. We're going to change the format for public broadcasting, and we're going to use it as our local issues TV, radio, and Internet channel so that when people in your community have ideas to make your community better, such as education, environment, a better tax system, keeping our tax money in our communities as opposed to what we're doing now, whatever it is, citizens can present their ideas for making your community better directly to the community, because we've learned that great ideas, when they are presented to people in Washington or state capitals or downtown, those are the places where great ideas go to die. What we need is a system in place where if you have a great idea to make your community better, you'll present it over your local issues TV, radio, and Internet channel. We want people to be educated on your issue, so we'll have a debate on your issue and hear all sides of it. We'll videotape that debate, present that to the community over your local issues TV, radio, and Internet channel over a period of, say, 10 days. Anybody that's interested in the issue can vote with any touch-tone phone. Remember, we're voting on American Idol, we vote on Dancing with the Stars, CNN, Fox, but we aren't voting on the important things in our lives. So when you see an issue that you have an interest in, you can vote with any touch-tone phone. You'll call a local number. It'll go into a database. It'll have your ID number and PIN number, ask you what issue number you'd like to vote on, press 1 for yes, 2 for no, count your vote, block you out from voting more than once. And every time the debate is replayed, there'll be an updated tally of the yeses and the nos, and at the end of 10 days, not only will your community be educated on the issue, but the outcome will come from you.
Okay.
And you will start rebuilding your piece of America from the ground up, starting right in your own community.
Okay, let me ask you some questions before we go ahead. So I want to be sure I got it down right, okay? First of all, you try to accomplish one mission, to keep a local government local, right? I mean,
absolutely.
That means decentralization, exactly the opposite of what's been happening in the last 30, 40 years. They want to centralize all the powers in Washington, correct?
Correct.
So that's good, because I agree with that. The idea also was of our founding fathers to create, a decentralized government. We lost pretty much the 10th Amendment is still there, but is on paper only, because at this point we know the federal government is pretty much destroying everything, and the states, they are not standing up. So I agree with that. We need to decentralize powers, and that's the principles of freedom. Less power in one person means we have a chance to have more freedom out there. Number one. Number two. You implying that the citizenry, that means the eligible citizen, because not everybody should be allowed to vote, in my opinion, or not. What do you think? If somebody comes here as a tourist or as even a worker with a visa, should be allowed to vote on political issues that much can be part of our life? First of all,
Well, I think that decision can be made by the people. See, that's what's really great about this system. It's very open. All this is that I just presented to you is the Model T.
Okay.
And what it's going to do is it's going to get better and better and better.
No,
so
I understand,
if somebody thinks that
I have a specific...
there should be a prerequisite as far as who gets to vote,
exactly.
Let them present that to the community, debate it, vote on it, and implement it in your community.
Okay. Just a little question. After all, there is good and don't. And this is my humble opinion, of course, and I'm trying to find the good side in this one. For sure, the good side that Washington is out of control and they don't give a damn about us. So that's almost an illusion. We go there, we send people to Washington, and we know that no matter which party, if you're a Democrat, you should be very mad. If you're a Republican, you should be very mad. I mean, look, NAFTA, CAFTA, TPP, Republicans and Democrats join together and they're selling us out. So that's the reality. Now, solution. You implying that people directly can vote on anything. That's become direct democracy. That at this point, I want to have an open mind. I mean, democracy for me, it's a bad word because it means that 51% of the people tomorrow can decide or could decide to vote on changing laws that would pretty much deny some basic rights. But at this point, I tell you, I don't see any difference because the government already did that. They passed the Patriot Act. They passed the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012 with indefinite detention. So we already passed that line. The 51% of Congress already told us that we are slaves. Now, how can we avoid that the people, the regular voters, cannot touch those basic things like the individual rights and property rights that, in my opinion, should never be voted upon. I shouldn't vote about the right if you have free speech or not. You have free speech, period. Even if 99% of the people say that you don't, you still have. And so for the rest of the Bill of Rights, how can we avoid that dangerous situation when uneducated voters could just by force, or at least through legalization of votes, could pretty much remove your rights? How can we avoid that? Because that's, for me, the only thing that is a little scary in this proposition.
Well, the main thing, too, I mean, the new system has to include the education of the voters before they vote. I mean, most people going in and voting in voting booths today for candidate A or B, which is the lesser of the two evils, they don't know anything about those people.
Yeah.
And remember that the people in Washington, D.C. have already admitted that 100% of the people, our representatives, don't read 95% of the bills that they sign.
Yeah.
So, if you want to talk about uneducated, when I hear the word unintelligent, let's say unintelligent, I remember the weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
Well, they said, we just had bad intelligence. Well, of course you have bad intelligence. You have We have a country where out of 300 million brain cells, we are using 535.
Mm-hmm.
It's brain dead. And on a state level, you have out of 6 million brain cells or people, you use 150. It's
true.
brain dead. And on a local level, we have 267,000 people in St. Joe County, where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
We use 9. It's brain dead. The goal is to fire up as many brain cells as possible.
No,
you
I
know,
understand.
we tell our kids when we send them off to school that, hey, if you really use your head, if you really use your brain cells, you can be smart. Well, the same holds true with us.
Yeah.
But right now, we're caught in this 240-year-old system where our founding fathers, they didn't know what a computer was, and they didn't know what a television was, and they didn't know what a telephone was. They didn't even know those words back then. We're using a system that they devised for a world that they lived in 240 years ago. There's nothing from 1776 that anyone is using today.
Okay,
Nothing.
let me go ahead. First of all, talking about education, that's a vital point. That's why they controlling the central government, the federal government, with Common Core or with Bush when it was before, No Child Left Behind and all the propaganda was pretty much part of controlling the education because they want to dumb down the population. Thomas Jefferson said, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects that never was and never will be. The bottom line, if you are stupid and uneducated, you're going to be a slave because you don't even know which rights you're going to lose because you don't know that you have rights. You don't know how to think. So that's very important. Now, I'm talking about the foundation of this country and the Constitution. Yeah, they did not have computers, but regardless, I think they created a system that lasts longer than many other systems out there. My problem, I think, today is there has been a plan of an elite of group that is being creeping in the last 100 years at least, or more. Technically, George Washington, in some of his letters, he was very aware of the job of the infiltration of Illuminati groups in the different masonry, and of course also in the U.S. government. The point is now they control the government, and when you have immoral people, and I'm not talking about morality about, if you like to watch porn or not. I mean, I'm talking about, if you are a person in the public life that you sell out your citizens, your constituents for personal gain. That's the bottom line. So we have now all these people that they sold their soul, and they are corrupted the system. Now, how we can take it back? We have a solution. Maybe not perfect, but at least somebody that, like, you try to put out a solution. Can you give, please, your website?
Yeah, the website is www.onevoicenow, O-N-E, voicenow.org, /video. Just watch the 15-minute video,
yes,
and it'll explain the plan. And on the problem and solution page, It explains how an issue will go very simply through your community.
Yes.
Very simple. And I want to mention one other thing, too. When you were talking about the Bill of Rights, keep in mind our founding fathers did what they could to protect us from this machine that they invented that is now out of control. I mean, what's happening today is what they didn't want to happen. But remember, the very first right that they gave us to protect us from it, what was it? Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech or voice.
Yeah.
What this system does is it gives us our very first right, that freedom to have a voice on the issues affecting our lives. And I think you'll find, once you really dig into this plan, that this is basically the 21st century Constitution, to tell you the truth, because the Constitution 240 years ago was an attempt by our founders it was really more of a communication tool, and politicians were the electrical impulses that were supposed to get on their horses and ride to Washington and come out into our fields and talk to us and give us the issues and get our opinions and get back on their horses. And those were the electrical impulses that our founding fathers had back then. And the same was supposed to happen on a state level and on a local level. And the system that we are promoting does a better job of having the direction of America decided of the people, by the people, and for the people, because we're breaking it into little pieces. We're breaking it into communities around the country.
David, let me just spell it out. The bottom line is we bypass Washington. Instead of sending these overpaid thieves, legalized thieves, they go there and they sell us out and they steal our rights. We, the people, we are back to control ourselves. At least we are responsible. And let's say we want to go to war. I mean, we didn't go to war legally according to the Constitution since World War II. That was the last constitutional war. I mean, at least we are responsible ourselves. Because right now, for example, this Congress is pretty much useless in many, it's like almost during Caligula's, the Roman Empire, you know. It was just a show. I mean, look, the empire goes to war with Syria, and no even Congress voted on. There was no resolution. I mean, there was no, authorization, not resolution. So we go straight back to vote. The people are supposed to vote. Every American person that is eligible to vote. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And also keep in mind that you don't have to go back that far to see a reenactment of what's going on in our country today. Germany was a republic, and they had, they didn't have just two parties. Of course, we don't have just two parties either, but they had lots of parties. But the reason that Germany went from Germany to Nazi Germany is because they broke the economy. And when the economy went broke, then the people are desperate for some kind of person to come forward with an answer to fix the pain that they're feeling. And it was ripe for Hitler. And what's going on today, it's exactly the same thing. We have 80% of the population that are broke. Yeah. And that's why, crime is as high as it is. Well, who's coming to fix it? The central government. They've got all the answers for us.
Let me tell you what my feedback about this. I've been studying a little bit your website. By the way, I think, you did a great job, putting all this organically out there. By the way, you also have a book. I invite people to read. Regardless, you agree with him or not, it's always good to read the differences of opinions. By the way, I'll buy your book. It's 300 Million Minds Changing America, Piece by Piece. And you can find the book on the website, onevoicenow.org. So at least you got some input. My personal feedback on this one, I like the idea of decentralization of powers. That's definitely was also back to the idea of this republic, the different states independent with the 10th Amendment. So that's great. At this point, I'm open. I'm open. Since Washington is a disaster anyway, and it's just a waste of money on top, we're paying people that they are not representing us. I'm open to think about it. There must be another idea. And as you said, technology today brings us back to different opportunities. You don't need anymore to go on the horse, by horse, go back to the capital, okay? So that's an idea. I understand. My only concern is this. If there will be a way that also supposed to be, it used to be the way, that there are some basic inalienable rights that nobody should be should be feared to lose their rights just because 51% of the people can vote for their rights. And I just go from there for personal, even the fruit of labor, I mean, we didn't have the income tax before. I mean, the income tax has been a result of this monstrosity called Federal Reserve Act, 1913.
Right.
And we are paying the interest to these bankers. They don't even go to services. You know very well the story. So, and of course, they make a play like, if you don't pay your fair share, you're a bad person. The bottom line, they want us to pay now like slaves to the central bank, the interest. But regardless, there are some basic things like the freedom of speech, all the Bill of Rights that we're talking, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, and of course also the fruit of our labor that I believe they should never be put for vote. Because now, for example, let's say I live in a community that 10 of us, we own land, okay, or we own a house. And the rest, 90% of the voters say they don't own land, but they can vote and say, you know what, it's time to prop property tax up. And they got the votes. They can be 90 against 10. What do we do then?
Yeah, let me address that. This system that I'm presenting, which I think does a better job than the Constitution, because the other thing that the Constitution was supposed to do was to let the people decide what role the federal, state, and local government was going to play in their lives. Well, that's exactly what this system will do. Once the people in your community have a voice, they will be able to raise debate and vote on issues to let them decide what role the federal, state, and local government's going to play in their lives, and to limit the role that they play in their lives. So this really does a better job than the regular Constitution of doing that. But this is the other thing that's important. The Constitution had the Bill of Rights, like you say, Lucas, to preserve our rights, to protect our rights. This system has basically the same kind of thing, but it's much simpler. There will be no issues raised pertaining to a person's race, religion, nationality, or sexual preference.
Okay.
So if you want to help people, you can help people. You can't raise an issue saying we're going to help Hispanics or black people or Jews. But because all of those things divide people. That's all they do.
Okay.
When you start giving people special preferences over other people, then that's what starts to divide people. So you can raise any issue that you want. You can raise environmental issues. You can raise. Do you
have a Second Amendment, David? Do you have the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed in your system, in your vision? Do you have that in that Bill of Rights that you somehow created?
That is an issue that needs to be raised in your community and decided in your community. All of these things need to
I need to stop you 1 second. Okay, 1 second.
That's not up to one person. That's up to everybody to decide.
That's why we have a little bit of differences of opinion, a little bit more marked way. Because, that's exactly my fear. Because the freedom of speech, it's an inalienable right. I have it no matter what. Even 99% of the people out there say, you don't have it. I don't care. I have it. You have it. Okay? That's the way it is. It's not for vote. Second story, Bill of Rights, Second Amendment, it's part of the individual rights, and I have that right. People may like it or not. And it is not for vote. It is not up of the village to decide if I can keep and bear arms. Because at this point, we go back to a collectivist form of government, and the 51% of the people, as they can deny my Second Amendment, tomorrow they could also decide they could deny my First Amendment, or maybe my Fourth Amendment. So that's a little bit of a point. And, of course, not because the show is called Love, Guns, and Freedom, but for me this is a very important foundation of freedom. The Second Amendment, it is a right as the First Amendment, and it's there exactly after the First Amendment, because that's pretty much, as George Washington called it, the thief of freedom. Because after all, they come to a point that every tyrannical government, and of course we are right now already in a tyrannical government opinion, after the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act, we are already in some sort of a soft martial law, but can be also harsher, can become like in Chile under Pinochet, or, Franco in Spain, or Mussolini, so what really is going to defend the population, the last line of freedom that we have? I think the Second Amendment is a foundation of that. What do you think about this?
Well, I think I've been an activist for 25 years, and I think I understand the reason that people really want to defend their right to bear arms. It's to protect themselves from the government. That's the real purpose. It's not about hunting, or holding up a shopkeeper or anything like that. It's about protecting yourselves from the government. Well, if all of a sudden the government, as we know it now, no longer exists, where the decisions aren't made by 535 bought and paid for people, and they aren't made by 150 bought and paid for people in state capitals, or 9 goofballs that sit on a city council. If the decisions pertaining to our lives are made by us, there's really nobody that you need to fear, because we are now the government. Of the people, by the people, and for the people did not refer to 535 people. That's supposed to be everybody. And what this does is it gives everybody the right to decide collectively and individually what kind of world that we want to live in. Let's take marijuana, for example. Almost everybody I know thinks marijuana should be legal. The problem is that the majority of the 535 in Washington think it should be illegal.
Let me put it this way, David.
Just think about that. And if it's that way with marijuana, how many other issues are we, marching around for? We're afraid that we're going to lose, because it's not the majority of the people that decide this. It's the majority of the 535.
Yes. Let me tell you something. The situation is still, coming back to the Second Amendment, you say, after all, if we are the government, we should have no more fear of that. That's not truth, because unfortunately we are still human beings, and it's proven that people can, regardless, start to be aggressive towards each other, and it's our right, anyway, as individuals, to defend ourselves, and more important, to think that no matter what type of government you want to put on paper, could be tomorrow, a government that every one of us individually can decide, Still, you can have ethnicity, you can have balkanization, you can have, brainwashing of people. The point is there is always somebody who wants to take over somebody else. It's part of human nature, unfortunately. If there is I wish there was a world perfect that, everything is peaceful and everybody's respectful for each other. But there is always somebody that wants to tell you how to boss you around, how to live your life, or to conquer you. That's part of humanity. Look in history. Romans used to go around Europe and boss people around, and if you weren't strong enough, you become a slave or you submit yourself. And so
absolutely, it happens every time.
Yeah,
it happens every time with top-down systems, and that's what the story of the Tower of Babel was about.
Yeah. So I think it's a right.
The power gets so high at the top.
Yeah, but I understand.
That it finally falls over, and that's what's happening
is,
in America and countries around the world.
I don't think no matter how we want to rechange the scheme, or at least the formula or the system, is still part. We are still human beings. And it will still be always subject to somebody else who wants to try to take advantage of weak people. So I believe it's a right. They should never be put for vote. The Second Amendment, like the Fourth Amendment, like, for example, the Third Amendment, and all the other amendments, I think. But the point is, at this point, I would like to say one thing that we should consider. At least have a conversation about it, because maybe your system is not perfect, but at least you came out with an idea. You came out with something that maybe, it's like an open source, you launch the ball, and maybe somebody can come back with something even more perfect, or something that could be, a work in progress. Let's put it in this way, So that's why I invite everybody on the show that has some ideas. I don't care if they are perfect or maybe they are perfect. Maybe let's see people what they think. This is just my humble opinion after all. So excellent. Listen, I want to give you at this point 60 seconds. Whatever you want to say, I'll shut up and you close.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your program, and thanks for everything you do. It's great to be with a fellow patriot, because we need more people like you to stand up and say what's wrong is wrong and right is right. And, we need that. That's why we need to use our voices, so that we can change the world that we live in. Hey, everybody's talking about the problems, but until we start talking about the solution, the fact that we now have the technology that we've never, ever had before. In fact, we don't even know any other civilization that's ever existed on the planet that's had this technology. We now have the technology now to empower each and every one of us equally, so that we aren't victims of some psycho, egomaniac, narcissistic, whatever, that's going to tell us all how to live our lives, but we're going to start working together and solving these problems together. We have the technology. We can't make it any easier. You got a television, you got a radio, or are you on the Internet? Well, you just watch issues that affect your life over the TV, the radio, or the Internet, and vote by phone, and you can start building the kind of world that you want for yourself and your family. That's how simple it is.
Okay.
I hope everybody goes to our website, checks it out, and hey, if we all get everybody thinking the same thing at the same time, we can change the world.
Let's put this, David. Let's put this in your. I try to almost consider this like a work in progress. As I said, let me give you my little feedback. If you could maybe put an addendum in your manifesto, okay?
Okay.
This is my little addendum I would like to put. That every human being has rights until infringe on somebody else's rights. That means we should be allowed to do anything we want until we are becoming, infringing on somebody else's. So that means, for example, with this one, that could be anything. I can drink wine until I am a danger to others. If I drink wine in my house, I can be safe and I don't endanger. I should be drink all the wine I want. I should be able to, be responsible if I want to carry a weapon until I don't infringe on somebody else's right, unless I become a criminal or I use this weapon in a criminal way. And so, for example, we're talking about marijuana, after all, if I can drink wine, I should be able to smoke a plant if I want to, until I become a danger to others. Don't you think it would be a good addendum as a general universal law?
I definitely do. And I think that's exactly what this is all about. When they threw the Ten Commandments out, I believe that they threw the morals out and they threw our freedoms out. To me, the freedoms should be free not to be killed, to not be lied to not be lied about, to not be disrespected as a parent. When a society throws the morals out and the right, those are where our rights and freedoms are found. Mm-hmm. And when 9 people on the Supreme Court that none of us voted for, 9 lawyers, 9 liars, or lawyers, however you want to say it, mm-hmm. decided that the commandments that have nothing to do with organized religion whatsoever had to be thrown out of our classrooms and off of the municipal property. As far as I'm concerned, we turned into an immoral country at that point.
Okay.
And I think once the people have a voice, they're going to bring those morals back, and they're going to bring their rights back, and they're going to bring their freedoms back that have been thrown out by the people in Washington.
Perfect.
That's what I believe.
Perfect. That was David Frank. And please, go ahead, go to his website. I really think at least worth to look at that, onevoicenow.org. And you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Don't go away, because we got some more news and more ammunition for your brain to take our rights back.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Here we go, guys. Back into the studio with Luca Zanna, and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM. Unfortunately, there are some breaking news that at the moment that you will listen to this broadcast, it's not going to be any more breaking, because now it's going to be Sunday exactly, the 15th of 2015. But this happened, unfortunately, a few days before. The moment that I'm recording right now, November the 13th. You heard already what happened in Paris. Maybe by now you may have also more details. This terrorist attack. This is so important for many things, for many levels, because, first of all, reality. Reality is that we are living in a new reality, things that never heard before. France never heard such terrible, completely out of, people could not imagine that you have different type of, in a city like Paris, different type of organized criminal events with the only goal to kill and murder innocent civilians like that. Never happened before. And there is more. There is much more than just what we've been told from the media. Of course, now you will see more details. At the moment, we know that there are more than 150 the victims, at least the people that were really murdered in this event. And the interesting thing is, what's really going on? You believe everything they tell you? No, I don't believe anything. The point is, but we need to start to look at facts. People really are dead. There's been a very well orchestrated plan to completely destroy society. And this is not just terrible, the fact, of course, that all these innocent victims died and many other people were, wounded and traumatized for life. How many families been destroyed and everything you can imagine. The problem is that there is a plan. There is a plan that, first of all, let's look at this. The Illuminati, the elite, they have a motto. The motto is order out of chaos. Chaos is always the good solution, because when there is chaos, when there is fear, civilization, more important, population, the people, they consider us like a bunch of cattle, they will submit to anything they tell us. Now, one thing we know for sure, ISIS is being trained and supported by this administration with the help, of course, also of NATO countries. That's a fact. I mean, go out there. I'm not trying to tell you because, I have pretty much, I despise that piece of scum called Obama. The guy is a traitor, in my opinion, and he's there sitting like a Trojan horse in the White House. But that's not even the point. The point now, we know from completely official sources, from mainstream news, and also from forces from the Pentagon, that yes, they've been training the less, extreme or the more moderate of these wannabe whatever. I mean, at this point, these people, they're there. If they give them weapons and training, they will use them like some sort of, watchdogs, to go after Syria, after Assad. And now we know very well where they got their weapons, and McCain was there with them just a few years ago. Okay? So that's a fact. Now, if this ISIS that is being supported and created, and come on guys, think about for a moment. It's supposed to be a bunch of freaking people on the pickup truck, okay? And you tell me that after 2.5 years, 3 years, we still the most, almighty force, armed force in the world could not defeat ISIS? I mean, we could have defeated in 3 years World War III the Germans, okay? And now we couldn't do that. But the Russians, in less than a week, they are pretty much dismantling all this ISIS. The fact ISIS couldn't exist if it wasn't supported and financed by part of our government, and it's proven, and the CIA is behind. I know that probably this is kind of harsh for some of you to believe. I'm sorry. I'm telling you, I don't have fun saying these things for many reasons. People die for much less, and more important, it really hurt me to know that our tax dollar is being used for such a criminal enterprise. Because they want to create this, the global chessboard, okay? They need to put down Syria. Now, so we have this group called ISIL. ISIS depends how Obama wakes up in the morning, how they're going to call him. And now, supposedly, this group is out of control. Anyway, is in France, in Paris, did what we know. Now, could it be really something happen because these are really out of control? Yes, could be. After all, you start to work for the devil or with the devil. The devil doesn't really, you cannot control him. The devil does what he wants. Once he has the power, he will do whatever he wants. But I really start too hard to believe that now there was just ISIL out of control. Technically, we know very well every communication, not just in America, but around the world. America, with this new technology that the last 20 years, but now it's an advanced stage, they can control everything, every communication, every email, everything. You tell me that such a big proportion, mass murder attack, nobody had a clue about it. All these billions of dollars spent by, NSA, Homeland Security, and all this satellite, and all these computers, and all this, spying on everybody. They spy also on other countries' presidents. I mean, for God's sake. You think they didn't know what's going on in France? So I really doubt it. But I have no proofs. I'm just here. My point is, though, what's going to happen? What's happening in France? We know for sure that in France now they have martial law. They have the military on the street. And maybe, put it in this way, all these refugees that this crisis is being created, you start to bomb the crap out of Syria for 2 years, and people are going to lose hope and homes, and they want to get out. And among these Syrians, you have many of them, they are not even from Syria, and they have no any type of refugee status, but they have an agenda. And we know very well that is only a statistic number. And the government knows too. All the governments knows. To let thousands and thousands of unscreened refugees that we have no idea really who they are, not only is an insult to every taxpayer out there. Now we've been forced to extreme socialism, not just with our own people, but we need to feed and take care also of the rest of the world. This is so insane, so immoral, okay, to be forced to pay for the rest of the world. I mean, many Americans, they are living on the streets. They lost their home. They lost their job. And you tell me now we gotta feed them and give them $1,000 bonus and everything else. Why? This is insane. But the worst part is not even that now. They know, government knows, that among all these, even if it's just 1% of them, there are, and they caught them, by the way, they caught them in Italy. They caught them in Germany. The terrorists, been arrested. In Italy was arrested, sent back. One official ISIS or whatever, Al-Qaeda member, and he was sent back, and the media kept it shut for more than a week. The Italian government kept it shut down for more than a week because they didn't want to create, fear. Guess what? This is reality. It's not fear. I wish it wasn't true. So what really I believe is happening here, these governments of Europe, more important now, of course, the American government, they need to try to create the crisis. To create the crisis, they need to have these elements among us, like Trojan horses. Think about Troy. Think about when the Trojans, they were sleeping, and some idiots opened the gate and let the Trojan horse inside. And then they went back to sleep and get drunk. And then they woke up in the middle of the night with their throat completely slit, or with a dagger in their heart. And they will keep sleeping, and meanwhile they will keep stabbing them. That's what we are, because unfortunately the watchmen of our country, this administration, this man wants to call himself the president, and all this Congress that allowing this, they sold us out. Why? They have an agenda. They need to put us in completely submission. How do you put people in submission? How are you going to force them to relinquish their rights? With fear. Because when we're going to have the same situation that in Paris just happened in America, they may tell you, hey, we need to completely take your guns. We must declare martial law. Exactly what would love a scumbag, piece of trash, communist, Marxist. By the way, this guy, he says he's a Christian. This guy, he doesn't even worship Allah. This guy is just a freaking devil. That's what he is. Obama, you are a devil. You're not Satan, but you suck Satan's private part. That's what you do. Scum. Allowing now more thousands of refugees from Syria. Yes, that's what they're trying to create. They're trying to create this crisis for us. It's like a chess game. Problem, reaction, solution. I really believe that. And I would like to say something to all my fellow Americans, And now they're ready to jump in arms against the Muslims. Don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, we know. Their books, unfortunately, it spells it out. That's the way it is. Okay? They have an agenda. If you're not a Muslim, you're a piece of trash. We know, I already had guests on the show, but this is not the point. Let's just look beyond the pawns. Let's look who's behind these pawns. Yes, they're using this, but they are pawns. We need to see who's allowing this, who is behind this. This is all, nothing happens by accident. Not such a big-scale event. This is not an accident. Please, fellow Americans, okay? Let's start to direct our energy towards the real enemy. Don't get me wrong, these are useful idiots, and yes, if you try to come in my community and try to start to murder, like a coward that you are, innocent civilians, I don't care if you are a false flag provocateur agent or if you are a real scumbag with a turban. You know what? I'm going to do everything I can. Even if I don't have a gun on me, I will jump on your throat and I will, with my teeth, completely rip your skin off and I will go deep in your blood. Seriously. This is no more a game. So, we don't care. All I'm saying though, Paris, France, the most completely no Second Amendment, like in Europe. Doesn't exist, the Second Amendment. They have no gun rights. Civilians not allowed to have a gun unless for hunting or maybe sport purposes. You need to really have a lot of connections, like in Italy. So guess what? Perfect. No guns, but guess what? These scumbags, they were able to have AK-47, shotguns, bombs, explosive. How happens, Obama? How happens that now you tell us that you want to go to the same type of, Australia model? Really? Scum? You, all politicians that believe in that, you're scum. Less than scum. So, I would like to say prayer for all the victims. Seriously. And I mean it. I have friends I have friends in France. Close friends. And I hope everything's okay. I really hope. They are human beings, and I pray for them. Even sometimes we have little differences of opinions in some issues, but they are human beings. And it's sad. Nobody deserves that. No human beings deserve to be slaughtered like a cow, in your reality, like that. So it's so sad, so sad. But more important, I really pray for their scummy government that start to, realize that, there are going to be consequences, because you're going to put people in the state of frustration, of completely frustration and completely castration, completely treat them like, disarmed cows, letting the borders open. And then what do you expect? People are going to get mad, and that's probably what they want, unfortunately. So I don't know, Americans. I don't know people from around the world. I know there are more than just Americans listening to the show. I pray for all of us. I pray, more important, that we understand what's really going on, because they will use our emotions to channelize them in something negative. We must use our emotions to channelize them, first of all, towards learning the truth. Nobody knows everything. I don't say that I know everything, but I know for sure this is part of the scheme. Because I tell you, ISIS didn't happen by accident. It wasn't like by act of God was created. No, there was behind a real funding, a real training, and we know where it's coming from. NATO and this administration is behind. Obama and politicians like McCain, you are behind. We got proofs. It's out there. So now, out of the blue, they are in France, Paris. Guess what? Still, there's blood in your hands. Anyway, please, bear with me. Sorry today, the show is going to get a little bit different, I had different plans, but this is very serious. And this is going to happen, unfortunately, I really am concerned that it may happen now. We are next in America. So I'm going to tell you more during the final hour, some ideas. Normally it's the hour about love, and I'll talk also about love. But I need to tell you more ideas about what can we do as a tool. I try to learn from each other, or I try to share whatever we can think we can do to try to defend ourselves. And it's more than just guns. Anyway, you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna, and today's broadcast is going to be for November the 15th, 2015. God help us. Don't go away. Ready for our number 2. It's going to be about guns.
The enemies within, they look like just you and me. The enemies within, we gotta stop them now. They will win. They are in our schools. They are in our courts. They are on the hill. This country they're trying to kill. They eat off this plate, but all they feel is just hate. They hide in the dark. From within they attack. The enemy.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.fm network. Here we go, guys. This is Luca Zanna, and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States.fm network. This is the hour about guns, okay? And as I said, guns for me, they are not a hobby. This is not a sport. There's no even hunting purposes. Yeah, of course, if you need to eat, the gun can be a good tool. But it could be also, for example, something else. But the point is, for me, guns means freedom. Means it's an inalienable right. And everybody out there in this country, in America, in this United States of America, who try to really exercise this right in the right way, that means, lawfully, I think it has all my support. That's the bottom line. Because gun rights is like a muscle. Rights are like a muscle. Or you use them or you lose them. Many times you have in different states different laws. Not just because you have the law that says that, you're able to open carry that rifle, that gun, means that you can do it. Yes, you can do it, but if you never do it, the day you will try to do it, guess what? You're going to see the reality. So it's good for men and women out there that they exercise their rights, in my opinion, especially when they have in the state constitution, they have the right spelled out that you can open carry or conceal carry. Every way you have to do it according to your state. Now, I already had on my show a couple of times at least a patriot. I call him a patriot because somebody for me who's putting his life at risk for an ideal and for the principles of our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. I consider men deserve respect, and also is a veteran. Now, the point is, I will remind you briefly the story. He'll do it directly. But the sad thing is that there is a sad thing. How the judicial system, how the court system, unfortunately, in my opinion, according to facts, is completely a mess. It's corrupted. And you will see now. We are going back to before the pre-Magna Carta, in my opinion, where pretty much, the king had to put laws in writing. Otherwise, if they're not in writing, there are no laws. Just because somebody tells you something doesn't mean that it's a law. It must be something written. Otherwise, you can change your opinion. That's the definition also, civil society or just complete tyranny. Anyway, so let's see. Let's bring him back. As from Washington State, Anthony-Bosworth. Anthony, are you there?
I am, Luca, and it's good to hear your voice again.
Thank you. And I'm glad to hear your voice, too, of course, and I wish I had better news, but I'm trying to use whatever bad is coming out right now for something good, to at least show to the American people and to everybody listening around the world where we are right now in this moment, 2015, November 2015 in America, if we're still a country based upon the rule of law or just arbitrary of some sort of, capricious enforcement of the laws according to a judge that depends how he wakes up in the morning. So please remind briefly what happened to you a few months ago when you got arrested in front of the federal building in Washington, their state. Remind us briefly the story, and then we go straight to your case for the sentence.
Okay. All right. Here's several months ago, I was invited to participate in a 10th Amendment rally. A rally basically that's saying that federal government is stepping over their sovereignty into state sovereignty rights. And it had to do with the legalization of marijuana in our state. But after that law had passed, the federal government was still arresting people for the use of medical marijuana within our state. They were prosecuting 5 people, and I was invited to participate in that rally as a member, just as a citizen. And I normally do Second Amendment rallies, but, our Constitution is our Constitution. One amendment is, the same as the next. And so I agreed to show up and help participate in the defense of our Constitution, even though that wasn't normally the Constitution that I rallied for, although, I supported it. And so I showed up to a rally, and I showed up a little early, and I was meeting with the leaders of this rally for the 10th Amendment there. And while I was there, I got grabbed by the federal officials, interrogated for 6 hours, had my weapons removed. I was denied my request of an attorney at minimum of 6 times. I was laughed at when I requested an attorney.
Let me stop you one second, Anthony. I want to just be sure that everybody understands that according to the state of Washington State, and your laws and your Constitution, first of all, open carry, it's lawful, correct?
Correct.
Good. So you weren't breaking no law. Now, the problem all happened that you were in front of this, magic building called the Federal Building, where pretty much seems like when you're going close to the proximity of the Federal Building, the Bill of Rights goes to the trash, that you were in this park, in this area, just in front. You were inside. You were just in the square, correct?
Correct. I was on a public plaza.
Yes.
That was in front of the Federal Building.
Public plaza that I almost sarcastic that the only thing that was posted there were no signs that says no guns allowed, correct?
None at all. The only sign that was present on the plaza was a bronze copy of the Bill of Rights.
Perfect. It's almost like a slap on our face. This is so almost fun if it wasn't so serious. Now, so you were minding your business with your family. The video is out there. Everybody can watch it. Your lady, your daughters. And bottom line, you were doing your open carry on sling peacefully. And then you get approached by our overlords in uniform. That they are the Homeland Security. Who they were, these people? I forgot.
Yeah, they were Homeland Security and federal marshals.
Okay, so super gods. Okay. And they told you that you got to leave on the premises. Okay, you must leave, correct?
Correct. They told me I had to leave because I was breaking the law. I questioned them and asked them what law that I was breaking. They quoted 18 U.S.C. 930, which I was very familiar with. And I actually repeated the law to them word for word, and told them they were misinterpreting it, that that's not what the law said.
And what exactly this law says? I'm just curious. I would like to learn here. This is a federal law, or is it a state law?
It's a federal law. It's 18 U.S.C. United States Code.
Okay.
So it is a federal law.
So they said that what does the law say? That you cannot carry a weapon in proximity of this federal building? What is exactly this law says?
No, what the law says in the particular area where it talks about it is saying that I cannot have a weapon inside courtrooms, corridors, hallways, and that house judges or prisoners, that type of thing. The law is very clear that, I can be in 4 years, I can be in anywhere in the court building that is not contain the courtrooms or criminals.
You were outside on this court, not inside the building, and there was no sign posted. I mean, normally I know that everywhere they need to post a sign normally, but more important, you were inside the building. You were on this what's supposed to be considered a public property, correct?
Correct. They even refer to it in court as the public plaza.
Public plaza. Okay. So at the end of the day, you said, okay, I'm going to leave. Did you take a little extra time, but you were ready to leave? I saw the video. Wasn't right?
Correct. Basically what happened is I started in conversation with the Homeland Security Officer, Steve. I can never remember his last name, but we're talking about, well, where is the border between federal property and state property? Because I didn't want to start a issue over the Second Amendment at this rally, because that's not what the rally was for. This rally was for the 10th Amendment, and I just didn't want to interfere with the other party's rally.
Yeah.
And so I was willing to comply that day and say, okay, show me where I can stand while I'm exercising my right, my Second Amendment rights, and I'll proceed to that area, but I want you to show me the line. I want you to show me where I can legally stand by your opinion.
Okay.
And as him and I were discussing that, we're headed in that direction.
Yeah.
From the time he first made contact with me to the time that the federal marshals got involved, we had moved towards that property line about 15 feet as we're discussing it.
Wow.
Of course, from the other show I did with you and everything, I covered, the fact that the federal marshal come up, and I didn't right away identify him as a federal marshal. I thought he was just a liberal citizen barking orders, because the Homeland Security guy that was clearly in charge of the site at that moment was ignoring him. I mean, he was paying him no mind.
Yeah.
And so I directed my attention back to the Homeland Security officer that appeared to be in charge of the site.
Yeah, on top, the uniform was easier to identify. That the guy looks like a regular moron, in my opinion. By the way, it seems like he has a big... and I'm not trying to be mean. When you see somebody like a little kid that normally always get bullied at school, they can wait to become some sort of position of power for revenge. He has some ego complex, in my opinion, this guy, seriously. Because,
yeah, he did.
Very insecure, very insecure. I mean, something should have been no drama. He made it become a huge drama to everybody, for everybody. Well, maybe that was the destiny. Let's see. So the bottom line that after all that, you got completely arrested. I would say almost kidnapped, because they didn't let you have a lawyer for 6 hours. They didn't want to give you a phone. Right, to at least to call anybody. And they mentioned, I'm just reminding from the last interview, that bottom line that, they almost laugh at you, that right now, with the National Defense Authorization Act, all they had to say that you can label you a terrorist or a suspected terrorist, and you have no more rights. So we are living in a new America. Now, from there...
Exactly. Well, Luca, one of the things two of the things that happened while they were interrogating me, and another thing for your listeners to keep in mind, too, is they brought in the FBI and another agency and interrogated me for 6 hours.
Wow.
As far as like taking some of my clothes, taking my ID, throwing them on the floor, and keep in mind I was inside of a jail cell, inside of a cage.
Wow.
So I was not just in a jail cell, I was actually in a cage inside of a jail cell.
Wow.
And this whole time they were interrogating me, they had my clothes laying on the floor that they were walking on. They had my ID that they threw on the floor and was walking on. They were just, they were pulling some old school tricks trying to interrogate me, what was the intent of the Patriot movement, that kind of stuff, who's leading it, how many people there are, the same old questions they normally ask.
Yeah. No, this is so sad, but now it gets worse. In my opinion, it gets worse. From there, they let you go only after a lot of pressure from the community, from the local militia and the citizens that they're involved in, to understand that we are pretty much now. If it wasn't for the people that around you that understand what's going on, we never heard from you anymore. I mean, the point is, finally you get out, okay? And you have to go in front.
Well, look, that was one of my fears when they grabbed me, and when I realized what was happening. Up until that point, I had broken no law.
Yeah.
I had violated nothing constitutional. I hadn't even broke or violated an unconstitutional law that they had on a book. At that moment, I was in the clear. I had not violated nothing.
Okay.
And you and I both, we have the understanding that there are constitutional laws and there's laws on the book that are not lawful, that they violate the Constitution.
Yeah, but
well, keep in mind, up to that point,
yeah,
I had not even broken one of their unconstitutional laws.
Yeah, so exactly. Now, the bottom line that after they release you and they press charges to you against you, but the bottom line that you had also an opportunity they give you a very easy deal. I mean, it was a super sweet deal. The federal prosecutors offer you, according to the news here that I'm reporting from the spokesman review, $50. You could have just paid a fine of $50 and you were free to go. Am I right?
Yes, as they tried to intimidate me in the months following, keep in mind I had Homeland Security call my home and just want to talk. They called my home and wanted to make sure that, excuse me a second here. Sorry about that.
No problem.
They wanted to make sure that everything on my home front was staying nonviolent.
So the bottom
Sorry
line,
about that again.
No problem. So you were the bottom line that you had a choice to go to court. And let's see, I think we lost him. Anthony, are you still there?
Hey, it's Matt Shea. You gave me a call, I think, looking for Anthony-Bosworth.
Sorry, Matt. The wrong number. We're online, on the air. But thank you, Matt. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, sorry about that. Take care of yourself.
No problem. Yep. There we go. That was the big mystery. We got Matt Shea that was calling the same time when we had Anthony. Let me try to get back Anthony on the show here. Anthony, are you there? Anthony, are you still there?
I am.
Okay, I got lost. I got the call from Matt Shea that probably before I called him by accident. So sorry, we are getting here kind of crazy. But back to us. So what happened?
Well, let me step back just a little bit here and remind you this is stuff that was not put in the public paper.
Yeah.
Is they first offered me a $2 civil forfeiture.
Wow.
Basically, it wouldn't be a fine. There'd be nothing on my record or anything like that. It'd be just like they stopped me on the street and claimed $2 of mine out of my pocket as a civil forfeiture, and then I just walk away and they clear my record.
Oh my gosh, I never heard about this. Interesting.
And I laughed at him and told him that, I would rather hang, and that's where the comment "I'd rather hang" come from when I first used it. But it's being misused in the public papers and everything.
Yeah.
And then later, about a month later, then they come up with the $50 fine.
Yeah.
After I turned down their $2 civil forfeiture.
So think about let's talk, guys. 1 second. I mean, listeners, think about it. Why you think the federal government, they're so powerful, federal government that pretty much things can, on our life, would just settle for $2 or even $50 because they knew that they had nothing in their hands. There was no law really, and there was no science out there. It was just arbitrary power. Normally they don't do that, but they want to make a point. Even if you pay $1, they make a point that you were wrong. That's the bottom line. So for them, the victory, they said that, yes, the federal government is right. They want to give you the sugar as easy as possible to make you comply. So, you just pretty much lost $2. It's nothing. But what you gave them, if you were doing that, you were given the chance to say, you see, we were right. And that for them was the most important thing because they knew they had nothing in their hands. If they were so thinking, that so sure they were right, forget about $2. They would have probably asked you $2,000, But let's go back there. So you say no to $50. You rather hang. So you go to court, correct?
Correct. After several trips across the state and, for a hearing for this and a hearing for that, they finally set a court date for me to go to court. And so we go into court, and keep in mind the court system brought in their assistant state prosecutor. This is a guy that only prosecutes cases like murder charges, capital offenses.
Wow.
Crimes of violence. That kind of stuff. He doesn't do traffic tickets. He doesn't do citations. This is one of their big guns that they brought in.
Yep. Now,
and then they subpoenaed more federal authorities as witnesses against me than what would be considered normal in a capital murder case.
Wow. Yeah, they're very afraid. They need to set an example, okay? If you ever try to dare to challenge the federal gods, we will smash your head, like the mafia does. The mafia, once in a while, need to kill somebody because they need to show who's boss. That's the bottom line. So everybody else gonna go back home and put their heads under the blankets. That's what they do. Sad, but truth. Now, you go there, by the way, this was a misdemeanor, so you were even under some sort of a felony case, okay? It was just a misdemeanor. That means, according to the system right now, that you don't even deserve anymore a jury of your peers. I mean, you were just under the authority of the government, and the state was also not just your enforcer, but also was your judge. I mean, just the judge was the one to decide your destiny, correct?
Correct. I requested a trial by jury of my peers 3 times, and I was denied all 3 times.
That's so sad.
Saying that I wasn't afforded a trial by jury because I was not at risk. And I argued that in court, and this is before I obtained my own attorney. I represented myself at this point.
Yeah.
And I argued the point that 30 days in a federal lockup, 5 years probation and $4,000 fine is at risk. I mean, I lose my freedom for 30 days.
Yeah.
And I argued the point with the judges, if a man loses his freedom for even 1 day, his rights are at risk.
Yeah.
And the judge disagreed.
Yeah. This is insane. This is insane. It's completely, you don't need to be a genius. All you got to do, read the Bill of Rights. Everybody deserves, a jury by trial, jury judged by your own peers, people of your own community, for everything more than $20, for God's sake. And here, you're risking your life because, by the way, when you go into a jail, even for an hour, you never know if you're going to make it back alive, okay? So anyway, so you go to this kangaroo court and you get sentenced, right? So you lost the case. That's the bottom line, right?
Correct.
Now, what's going to happen? How many days? What is exactly the price of they want to make you pay in every way? Because I want to show everybody around America where we are right now, that they can put you in front of a judge with now any type of check and balance for a misdemeanor, but this misdemeanor can send you straight to jail and give you worse, change your life. And more important, let's look at all the evidence. I would like to, my point is this one. This is no more the America that we are. When people say the land of the free, home of the brave, I'm sorry. It's gone. it's gone. Doesn't mean that we don't need to do anything more to get it back. We will fight every way we can to take it back. But meanwhile, we must admit the reality. We are not anymore under constitutional republic, and we have no more basic rights. We are under some sort of a tyranny that shows this sort of, like a show. Yes, you still have a judge, but at the end of the day, look what happens to you. You don't even anymore the opportunity to be judged by your own peers. Now, what exactly, are you going to jail? What's going to happen to you?
Well, I still got a sentencing date where I got to go in on December 2nd and be sentenced now.
Yeah.
But let's take a step back a little bit, Luca.
Yeah.
Let's keep in mind that during the case, the judge denied us to submit to the court that I was denied an attorney 6 times.
Yeah.
He also denied us submitting to the court that I was never read my Miranda rights.
Wow.
He denied all that to be entered into the court.
Mm-hmm.
He denied the actions of the federal marshals to be entered in the court.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it pivoted on the fact was the law that did I fail to comply with a lawful order? Well, in order for the order to be lawful, it has to be supported by law.
Exactly.
So basically, when the marshal said I was in violation of the law, therefore I had to leave, I had to actually be in violation of that law in order for that lawful order to kick in and apply.
Yeah.
Well, the judge found in his own wisdom that I was in fact in violation of the law, 18 U.S.C. 930.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, if I was actually in fact in violation of that law, I could be in prison for a year, $10,000 fine, lose my gun rights and all that.
Yeah.
But that never come up.
Yeah.
The court did find that, in their wisdom, that I was in violation of the law. Therefore, the order was lawful. So therefore, I'm guilty of disobeying a lawful order. And so then it comes up to now, on this, failure to comply.
Yeah.
The judge also ordered a PSI, which is a pre-sentencing investigation.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, say if you're a drug addict or you're a rapist or a bank robber,
mm-hmm.
and you have a history of violence and crime,
yeah.
the judge is going to sentence you by your past history.
Yeah.
And so they do this pre-sentencing hearing that says, okay, how many times was he arrested for these violent crimes? Do we give him the minimum or the maximum?
Yeah.
Well, that's normally only done during violent crimes or habitual criminal activity. The judge orders a PSI knowing I have no criminal history whatsoever, and in this request for this investigation, he wants to know my financial status. He wants to know my mental state. He wants to know, where I live, all this stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with this kangaroo court's, sleazy actions of finding me guilty for a crime that I clearly did not commit.
Wow. This is amazing. And also the fact that what you just said, not just because somebody has a uniform can say, okay, this is the law. The law must be proven. The law must be in writing. I mean, for what I understand, they had to pass some sort of a special ordinance or something they had to add. After your situation, after your episode, they had to put out something that they were saying, okay, this area now it's gun-free zone. But before, that means admitted that before wasn't gun-free zone area. Is that true?
That's correct. What happened is 3 days after my arrest, another federal judge wrote an edict. She made law herself. I mean, this wasn't something that Congress did.
Yeah.
She wrote a law that said that the authority of that law extends to the public areas outside of the building.
Yeah.
When the law clearly says inside the building in certain areas.
Yeah.
Well, she wrote law. She was in violation of. She assumed congressional authority.
Yeah. I mean,
let's
think, listeners. Think about that, listeners. The judge completely subvert the law, And this law is supposed to apply only inside the federal building. And now they say after your situation, because they knew that they had no leg to stand, okay, and they say, okay, let's do outside now. What if this judge instead and say, oh, just around, I don't know, the perimeter of the court there, the plaza, whatever you want to call it, why don't we do 2 miles around the federal building? Why not 3 miles? I mean, if they can do like arbitrarily change the law, they could change anyway, maybe the whole city of Spokane or the whole town. Who knows? I mean, that's amazing.
Well, Luca, it gets crazier than that, Luca, because they actually pulled that in this case.
Wow.
And because we haven't talked about that yet. Basically, how they found me guilty, Luca, is they claim there is a hidden parking garage for federal employees underneath that public plaza. So they claim, without showing proof in court, because they claim national security, that there is a federal facility underneath that public street and that public plaza.
Wow.
And so they said I was guilty simply for the fact that I was standing on ground above a federal facility that they refused to prove in court that's there because of national security. So basically, and they claim also it runs under the public street, that the land that's owned by the state. But they said I was guilty because I was standing above it.
Wow.
So by the precedents they said in court that day is you could be on state land, and if there is a federal facility or a federally owned property underneath your feet somewhere, you are now punishable by federal law and federal jurisdiction.
Wow.
Well,
this is almost
I
like
had a couple of attorneys play with that idea. Well, what exactly does that mean? And a couple of attorneys I talked to said simply if they have a phone line or a gas line or a information coax buried underground under private property, state property, wherever, by the precedents they set that they can claim federal jurisdiction simply because the person was standing on top of the ground above it.
Wow. This is amazing. This is like almost seems like the time of kings, when the king says, you know, this is the king's road, or this is the king's land, and everything above and beyond or under, it's mine. If you walk over, you know, it's still you own me anything. You have no rights. This is amazing. No, seriously, this is amazing in a bad way. So anyway, I wanted to share this to the rest of the world. It's not just America. Of course, for America, it's different because we have a right that most of the world, probably the rest of the world, does not have. The right to keep and bear arms. And this is about exactly what they're trying to do to us. They're trying to destroy every right one by one, and they're trying to make a point and trying to use, at this point, complete tyranny. Because I tell you, when there is no more check and balance, there are no written laws, and there is just the arbitrary power of some, you know, I want to call them clowns in uniform, but for me at this point, they are worse than clowns. They are Gestapos, just because they think they can do that. You know, it's sad, this federal marshal or these Homeland Security people, they have a uniform. What they're doing to them, to you, what they've done to you, they don't realize if they have son or daughter, they're going to leave behind the legacy, first of all, of complete, you know, disgrace. But worse than that, they will leave the example and the setting the wall, excuse me, the road paved for this new type of tyranny, because now they will leave behind, they're creating a new America where we have no more the rule of law, we have no more our basic individual rights, but we are living pretty much just because the federal government can tell you that now you're walking over some sort of underground pipeline or whatever they can make up. You don't even know really what's going on under the ground. I mean, what do you think you're going to do with your little, you know, your rifle? There was no even, with a round in the chamber, there was no even armed. Your rifle was even loaded. What do you think they're going to do? Start to shoot the ground and go down? I mean, it's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Listen, what people can do for you? If there is something we can do, I mean, what do you think can we do?
Well, we're going to appeal it, of course. It's on its way now. We can't appeal until after I'm sentenced. And so pretty much no matter what, I'm going to spend my time in federal lockup. Yeah. Simply because by the time the appeal is approved, my federal lockup time will be over. So once I'm sentenced and everything, we're going to appeal it, and it will be headed to the Ninth District Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
And then in doing so, we're also laying the groundwork and the paperwork for it to go to the Supreme Court. Of course, we all know that that's pretty spendy and everything, and so if people want to donate to my legal fund, I encourage them to do so.
What is the website?
Because, this is not just my rights that they're violating. It's not just my Constitution that they're violating. It's your guys' Constitution, too. And if they can get this precedent set with me, they can enforce it upon you.
Exactly. And I want to remind everybody, I don't care if you are into the Second Amendment or not. Think about the basic here. There was no law, nothing in writing. That to the judge, after I tried to pass some sort of a court order or whatever, to declare this area is a public area, the square, not the federal building, the square, they tried to make some sort of a court ordinance to try to say, okay, now we not allow any more guns. So there was nothing. At the time when you were walking there, you didn't break any law. You were observing and, complying with the state law of open carry, and you were, you never had a record. I mean, you were doing everything by the book, okay? And they offer you first $2 and then $50 fine just to say, okay, tell us that you were wrong, and then we'll let you go. And then, of course, when you didn't go with that, they had to show who is boss, and they had to show you that now to the rest of us that we must always put our head down when the federal gods tell us to jump, we're supposed to jump. And you didn't jump. And I'm glad about that. At the same time, I really say I'm sorry that happened to you, but at the same time, there is a good side. The good side that now another example like yours should make understand the rest of America that this is no more America with a C, this is America with a K. We are right now already under soft martial law. If a judge can put you in jail when there is no law, and does even give you the right, according to our Bill of Rights, to have a jury of your peers, to be sentenced. This is 30 days in jail. It's not a game, okay? Federal prison, for God's sake, federal jail. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is serious. So tell us the website where how can people reach you out to send you some donations for your legal fund?
Well, we have our Facebook page, Liberty for All, or LFA 3% Washington.
Okay.
We also have a Arizona Liberty for All. I can be reached by either one of those. I can't remember the PayPal account for the legal donation right off the top of my head.
I'll put a link on today's show, lovegunsfreedom.com, directly to the Facebook page that, you are there so people can contact you. And, of course, they can organize. And, guys, seriously, everybody can somehow save $5, $2 from Starbucks or whatever you get your coffee. This is something very important. May happen right now in Washington State. Tomorrow may happen in front of your home or maybe at your state capital. And more important, we got to stand together or we really pretty much hang, divided. And that's going to be so terrible. Listen, I want to say again, you have all my respect. And I still pray that somehow maybe some appeal, because I hope you can fight it all the way back. I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you this is complete. In my opinion, according to the facts I see, it is just an act of arbitrary, completely tyranny. When the tyranny means that there is no more law, there is a completely people like the judge and these federal agents, they can pretty much decide everything they want. And when there was no law and it's not in writing, and they can tell you still you're guilty, this is for me so sad for America and for all of us. So I hope we can find a way. So when is going to be your appeal? You have a lawyer now to help you out?
I actually do. I retained a lawyer for the first case, and he's going to take on the appeal. And so I'll be appearing in court on December 2nd for the sentencing, and then at that moment we will file for the appeal officially.
Okay, listen, I pray for you and your family, and please, let's be in touch. And whenever you have final notes where you're going, what's going to happen, keep us posted, okay?
I'll definitely do that, Luca.
Thank you, Anthony. And guys, you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. Please go to lovegunsfreedom.com. Today's show is exactly the one November the 15th. There is a dedicated page, and I will post a link directly to Anthony Bosworth from Washington State for his legal team, legal defense. Please donate everything you can. I'll donate myself something. Thank you very much. Don't go away. You got more now. We're going to have more guns news, more Second Amendment news, and God help us.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Luca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Luca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Here we go, guys. Back to the second hour. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and also on UnitedStates.fm network. Don't forget to go to the website. You can also listen to all the archived versions on lovegunsfreedom.com. Now, this is the hour about guns, okay? You know that for me, as important is the Second Amendment as our right, is our also philosophy. We're talking about, before we were talking about the right of this American man from Washington State. But also it's very important not just talking about guns. I really believe that we should practice, because every law-abiding citizen out there, it's almost like a duty. With freedom comes responsibility. Yes, we have the right, inalienable right to keep and bear arms. But at the same time, I think we have the moral duty to be proficient, to be safe, and to be educated. Because at the end of the day, we have a responsibility here. In many states, for example, like Arizona, they are great. We don't even need any more like a concealed permit. We have the constitutional carry. But I still encourage everybody out there, not just because you can, try to get education. And, I bring on this show everybody. I don't even get paid. My goal is to give you information that can benefit you, especially when it comes down to education and training. I would like to have every law-abiding person in America, man, woman, and between. I don't care. But the point that you have all the education and the training to be not just safe, of course, number one, also be proficient, because that would be a better society, a safer society. So that's the bottom line. Now, today I have a great guest, and I tell you, normally, I don't know, there is one thing I like the most, I love guns, but there is one thing I like more than guns. It's women with guns. And I'm not trying to be, some sort of a male stuff. No, it is really true. For me, a woman who took the decision to keep and bear arms means that is a woman, is a person, is a human being that went through the mental, process to articulate exactly a logic process. First of all, she's not a victim. First of all, she's a human being that even if she has maybe little less, physical capacity compared to a man, she still decided she's not going to be submitting to evil. And she's able and she's willing to defend herself and her family, and of course, if she's a mother, the instinct of a mother to defend her children. So that's why I like it. I wasn't trying to be, some sort of a pig, okay? Now, guys, I have incredible guest that she's a great lady. I saw some of her videos on different type of Facebook pages, and what can I say? Let me just introduce her. Alisha, you there? Ketter from Nevada.
I am. Hello.
Nice to meet you, Alisha. And please introduce yourself. Where are you from and what do you represent? You have a couple of firearm institutes that you work with.
Yeah, my name is Alisha-Ketter, and I am located in Reno, Nevada, just north of you, actually. Mm-hmm. And I am privileged to work with the Women's Shooting Academy here in Reno. So we have a full training academy that focuses just on women's safety and firearms and all different aspects of training women to defend themselves. And then I also own Legacy Defense Systems, which is co-ed, but we primarily focus on women, and that's taking training to the next level, tactical advanced training. So
Perfect.
I get to do some fun stuff.
Yeah, so, you go from handgun to rifle, and it's interesting. As I said, I think it's beautiful to see, especially normally, everybody tries to stereotype, especially the propaganda out there, the media. Oh, the guns must be something for, the type of militia guy. So the guy that normally, have breakfast, with children. Or, I don't know, they clean their teeth, with a bayonet. No, it's the gun issue. It's about everybody. And more we understand that regular people and people from different spectrum of society, and especially women, now they're getting into guns more than ever. So I think that's so beautiful to see a lady like you, a very classy lady, that also, you don't just talk about guns, but also you shoot them and you train other people. So that's great. Now, I wanted to bring you here. First of all, let's talk a little bit about your schools, because my goal is to give information for people that out there wants to look for training, regardless where they are. I give them options. I bring here everybody. So tell us a little bit, for example, let's start with the women's school. I really like to bring more women to this culture. What type of classes do you offer? And what type of, how many days normally? The basic class for handgun. Let's start with the handgun class, your basic package.
So our most popular class is our ladies intro class. Mm-hmm. And we get everything from, a few weeks ago, we had a 9-year-old girl and her mom in the class.
Wow.
We get all the way up to 90-year-old widows who are living at home alone.
Wow.
So we get everything in between. Women of all stages, all backgrounds. Women who are afraid of guns, have never shot a gun in their life, or maybe they had a bad experience with guns. Maybe their boyfriend or husband tried to teach them and that didn't go so well. So we kind of get a little bit of everything. And like I said, our ladies intro class is our most popular class, and that's an 8-hour class. And
okay.
Honestly,
not bad.
They come in and we do about 6 hours in the classroom, explaining everything you would possibly want to know about a handgun. And then we take them out on the range and they shoot 5 different calibers. By the end of the day, they're shooting .357 revolvers, which is, a big gun, especially for beginners. And they walk away really empowered and really energized.
So it's like an introductory class to also, do you have a lot of drag practice during this class, since you don't spend many hours at the range, but you spend most of the time in the class? Do you give them a chance to also go through the basic drag practice training of how to handle the gun?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
We never take a student out to the range until we've, established a baseline of safety and, how to handle the firearm, how to handle malfunctions, all of that. And we do all those drills in the classroom long before we take them out on the range.
Perfect. I don't mind, to bring out prices here, because as I said, my goal, first of all, you confirm you are not my sponsor here. You are my guest, correct? So I'm not.
Right.
Good. Because my goal is here is very simple. I'm honestly trying to bring the best training out there from every state. I don't care where, locally, of course, but also out of state. They can give the opportunity to my listeners from around the states and also from other parts of the world to get training, because that's my really goal here. Generally. So I would like to bring you here, and I'm glad that you're here. So give us an idea, for example, for this 8-hour class that mostly is like an introduction class for new people, especially women, of course. How much would be the cost for this 8 hours class?
Well, I believe that class is $125, and I could be wrong because I don't handle that side of the business as much, but it's very, very reasonable, and especially for the level of training that you get.
Excellent.
As a shooter myself, I've attended a lot of classes, at a lot of different places. I believe in being a student first and then a teacher second, and I think the value you get from the Women's Shooting Academy is just phenomenal.
I think, we're all students, no matter the level. If somebody thinks that you're at the top, you're always going to get better. You always can become better. Even the highest level of shooters, they always train and study new techniques every day. So that's exactly the right attitude, I believe that. Perfect. Let's remind also how people can find, because my goal is people maybe can reach you out. Do you have a website for this Women Academy?
Yeah, absolutely. TheWomen'sShootingAcademy.com. And you can find a full list of our classes there. We do everything, like I said, from ladies intro. We'll take you all the way up to, if you want to become a competitive shooter, we'll take you through tactics, and gaming and that sort of a thing. We'll teach you shotguns and rifles. We have all kinds of classes. So you can check us out there. Or you can check out my personal school, which is LegacyDefenseSystems.com.
Okay, let's talk about this other school. It's more like for probably everybody. This is not just for women. Tell us a little bit about what is the basic characteristic of your classes, of your courses?
So my school was kind of born out of the desire to take it to the next level. We get women who come in and they do go through all of the classes in the Women's Shooting Academy and they learn how to be a good shooter, and then they say, I need to know how to handle a firearm out in the real world. What do I do if there's an active shooter? What do I do if there's a bump in the night and my husband is away traveling, or any sort of real life scenario? And so that's where Legacy Defense Systems comes in. We're fortunate enough to be here in an area where we can train with Marine snipers, Special Forces guys. We work a lot with law enforcement. You name it, we have a wealth of training, education at our fingertips here. So we can do all kinds of customized classes that will meet those needs for those people. But for women in particular, you mentioned, that motherly instinct that women have to protect their children or protect their home. There are concerns that are specific to women in that realm. And so that's what Legacy strives to do, is to give them a more advanced training and skill set so that they can perform beyond just standing in front of static targets. And that's why I'm so excited about our partnership with Snake River Shooting Products and Team Never Quit and what they have to offer, because it allows us to give our students more realistic training.
Wow. Now, question, your facility, is located in Reno, Nevada, or outside Reno exactly? Where are you located?
Well, we actually have a classroom in Reno, Nevada, but because of the way that Reno is designed, we actually have access to a number of firing ranges all over the place. And so we have a number of different ranges that we'll practice at given our need, the weather, et cetera. So we do have an actual classroom here in downtown Reno, and then depending on, what it is we're trying to achieve, we'll go to one of our local ranges.
Perfect. So I've never been in Reno. I really would like one time to be there just to see the place, and of course I would like to maybe meet you and maybe meet the guys there at your school. It would be great. And maybe even
we'd
join
love
a
to
class.
have you.
Great. So listen, now let's talk about the Team Never Quit ammunition, because, I got hold of you and I want to thank again Casey Bitzold, that was my guest. And, I always like to promote also, I like to see young people, new blood into the industry, when especially we have the need. I call it national security need, to have manufacturing, not just of firearms. Of course, it's important, but ammunition. We know very well the ammunition market is under complete attack. There is a great, unfortunately, pressure by the federal government to increase the prices at different level. So when I see a new young, businessman coming into this business to bring you good quality ammunition, I think it's great. And that's why I want to help him out every way I can. And let's talk about this. First of all, you test their ammunition, correct? I mean, you have the chance to test some of their specific ammo, like, for example, the low ricochet hollow point rounds. They normally, for what I understand, I've been shooting some of those too, especially the steel target. When you shoot steel target, these reactive targets can be very dangerous if you are, let's say, at least less than 25 yards from the target. If you use the regular full metal jacket, you can have a very dangerous ricochet and, of course, sharp nails of brass or whatever, copper, whatever it can be. So you test this ammunition from Casey. What can you tell me about this type of ammo? How do they call him exactly? I forgot the name. What is exactly the name of this type of round?
So this is our frangible duty / training round, and it is designed for reduced ricochet. And this technology has been around for a long time. But what is so appealing to me is, as you mentioned, kind of Casey and who he is as a person. But Team Never Quit as an organization is so unusual and unique in our industry, and it's just something that I was so drawn to and had to be a part of, because it's more than just ammunition. So I'll get to the ammunition, but I just want to say that, Team Never Quit is so much more than that. It's really a movement and a community of people who are dedicated to taking care of our veterans and taking care of our country and restoring it to what it should be. And part of that belief is exactly what you talked about earlier, and that is our responsibility to train and be proficient with our firearms. And so that's where this frangible ammunition comes in. It allows us to train in a way that we never really could before. So let me tell you a little bit about what the frangible means. So traditionally, we shoot lead projectiles, right? Whether it's jacketed or whatever. And we have to do that at a distance if we're shooting on a hardened target on steel, because as you mentioned, you'll get that ricochet or that frag back on you. And that can be really dangerous.
Yeah.
In fact, Team Never Quit, kind of the face of Team Never Quit is Marcus Luttrell, lone survivor.
Yes.
And,
I spoke with
and so
his
when
mother,
you buy a box of T&Q ammo, you see Marcus's face there. So Marcus was training with other Navy SEALs and seeing his friends being injured from that frag, and really he said, we have to be able to train like we fight. We have to be able to train realistically, and that means that we have to get up close to these hard targets.
Yeah.
And that's really a sentiment that any tactical firearms trainer or shooter can relate to. We have to be able to get up close, because in real life, we can't think, oh, I'm too close to that target, I'm going to get hurt from the frag that comes back. We have to just engage the target, when danger presents itself. And so we have to be able to train like that. Yeah. So this reduced ricochet ammo is really pretty spectacular. I went out and bought a whole bunch of their ammo and said, I'm going to put it through its paces. And we started shooting this ammunition at about, 20, 30 feet, the normal range that you would away from steel.
Okay.
And I slowly started walking up closer, because it goes against all of my training so far. I shouldn't get that close to steel.
Yeah.
And slowly I walked up closer and closer and closer, and I was within 8 inches of steel.
Wow.
Shooting my handgun and getting no splashback at all.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And to me, that's phenomenal. I mean, that really kind of changes the game in how you can train.
Yeah.
And then I did the same thing with my 223.
Wow. Let me give 1 second to the listeners. People say, you know what, I shoot on paper target, I'm fine. Yes, that's great. Don't get me wrong. You can still shoot on paper target, you're going to be okay. But sometimes that is some type of a reactive, instant reaction training. Like, for example, you can get only with steel, and it's good to do that, also to incorporate in your training. So, I think that would be a really great extra thing to do without being fearful that you could hurt yourself. So I tell you, so you have tried what type of calibers? 9, 40, 45? They do pretty much the basic standard calibers out there for handgun?
Yeah, they have a whole lot of them. In fact, I don't have the list in front of me. I personally shot the 45 and the 9 and the 380 out of the guns that I carry every single day. So I wanted to make sure they worked in my guns and in a variety of different platforms, and they performed fantastically. And here in Reno, I know that you mentioned you have never been here, but because of our environment, our schools here are built out of cinder block, and so they're a hardened environment.
Wow.
And I've often thought, if I had to go into a school, even though I can't carry my firearm here, but maybe the school resource officer has to respond to a shooting in a school, the chances of collateral damage in a hardened environment are pretty high, right? We're going to have ricochet, and we're going to have students or bystanders who are going to be hurt by that. And this reduced ricochet ammunition minimizes that risk. And to me, that's just fantastic. I mean, it's whatever we can do to minimize civilian or, bystander casualties is really, a win.
Let me give a little plug to Casey and people where they can find the ammunition, okay? Snake Rivers Shooting products.com, snakereversshootingproducts.com, and that's where they can check it out. They can try the different products, and of course these incredible, great quality, low ricochet ammunition. Listen, I think we're almost there. I want to give you now 1 minute. You can say whatever you want. Go ahead.
I would just say, check out Team Never Quit, and they have a whole suite of products. This is more than just ammunition. We're starting to partner with Axelson Tactical and Seal One and Reaper Outdoors and just a whole group of amazing companies, because this is more than just a company that's about making money. This is about changing lives. This is about supporting our veterans, restoring our country, and enabling the shooter to be the best that they possibly can.
Perfect. And I want to say, guys, seriously, go out there, check them out. have an open mind. Sometimes, we're stuck in our own, we think we know enough, never enough. And you think you already got your perfect round. You know what? This is exciting. Go out and open your mind and challenge yourself to look for what works. And I would like really seriously, since this is not even, and I would do even this if it was a show. My only goal here is the truth. I like to bring things that I like to test. So I would like every listeners out there, I would like to give you the challenge. Please get a box of this type of specific ammunition that we're talking about. You can go to snakerivershootingproducts.com, get this, frangible ammunition, test them out. Maybe you can do a YouTube and send it to me and give me your real feel, feedback, considering, the product and the quality, of course, and the accuracy, and, of course, also the price. Put all together, I would love to have your feedback. That would be very, very good information. And also, I would like to remind everybody, the way I can put this show together and I can be free to say whatever I want, and I don't need to rely just on corporate sponsors, is because you, the listeners, you are my sponsor. And you can help out the show in a very simple way. You can go to one of my websites, for example, zannaart.com. And you know that besides doing many things, I like to paint, and also I write songs, and you can download any of my, more than 100 songs for just 99 cents. At zannaart.com, and you keep the show free. Listen, I really want to thank you very much, Alicia, and please stay in touch, okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you. And guys, don't go away. We got more coming. The final hour is going to be the hour about love. I got probably a nice surprise recipe, and we will talk about also some colors and much more going on. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Do not go away.
Give me liberty, or give me death. I'll fight till the end, till my last breath. Give me liberty, or give me death. I'll stand against tyranny, my soul will never rest. There is no longer any room for hope. If we wish to be free, there is no retreat but in submission and slavery. We have petitioned, we have remonstrated, we have supplicated, we have prostrated. Is life so dear or peace so sweet as to be purchased as the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take. But as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Give me liberty, or give me death. I'll fight till the end, till my last breath. Give me liberty, or give me death. I'll stand against tyranny, my soul will never rest. Give me liberty.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really live.
Here we go, guys. This is Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM, and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. Now, this is the hour about love. We will talk about different things. News, also a couple of things about my personal vision about a specific type of love and different other things. But also what I like about this hour, that this is also your hour. I love to have guests. I like to have people that they can share their experience. And of course, that's great. But for me, the most important person at the end of the day, it's you, the listener. Because this is exactly the place where you can use this show for whatever you want to say. of course, try to be consistent, with our topic. We talk about love, guns, and freedom. So if you want to talk about football, this is the wrong show, okay? So that's the bottom line. We have no censorship, no screening. As you know, though, I do not do the show, broadcast the show live. Most of the times, I produce it. So I want to give you the opportunity to be here like you were live, okay? So you can call me directly contact me directly to my email that you can find on the website, lovegunsfreedom.com. There is my email. And you say, I want to be on the show. I want to say something. I don't even ask you what you want to say. I just hope that you're going to be on topic. That's it. And if you have criticism, that's great. I love it. I like to hear from you. Just be FCC compliance. That's all I'm asking. I don't even say to be polite because, if you want to be rude, I'll be rude too. But we are FCC compliance and I try to be civil even if we disagree. So anyway, right now I have a caller that I know that is from Bullhead City. And I also know that he's a listener. And I'm very thankful to him to put up with me, to listen to me, and to try to understand me. Sometimes when I get excited, my accent gets really bad, okay? But his name is Darren. I have no idea exactly what he wants to say, but I welcome him, and I'm very glad that he's here. Darren, are you there?
Yes, I am, Luca. How are you?
Very good, man, very good. So give us a little bit first introduction about yourself. You're from Bullhead City, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you into music, maybe?
Into music?
Yeah. You like the band called Pantera?
Yes, I do.
Okay, because I don't want to say too much out there, but the email that I received from you, I see Pantera, and when I was in Italy, it was one of my favorite heavy metal bands, just to let you know, okay?
Also the car.
Yeah.
It's a great car also.
Wow. Excellent. So listen, I give you the floor. Come on, go ahead. Whatever you want to say, you got the microphone now.
Well, I just kind of trying to get some information. I'm trying to learn. I've got a situation that's going on. It's not a good thing, but I like how you're talking about the Constitution and constitutional rights, and I'm trying to get some information and see who specializes in guidance and help with someone that needs some constitutional help or just natural rights, common law court of record. It seems like a hard thing to find. Everything seems to be bar attorneys, and that's a British accredited registry, and they're an officer of the court, and I'm trying to find some good information and do my research and prepare.
Okay. If I can ask you something more specific, do you need somebody to represent you in front of a court of law? I mean, that's where you're at?
Yes, that, or at least give me a direction, a guidance. I can stand up myself if I kind of find everything comes down to words and procedures and jurisdictions.
Look, I am no lawyer, of course, and I can give you legal advice. I cannot give you legal advice, but what I would suggest is this. As a friend, as my personal opinion, what I would do if it was my brother out there and ask me this. Yeah. First of all, regardless that I understand the difference between natural law and we are under the system that unfortunately is not according to our Constitution, but at the same time, I still think that at the end of the day, as much as what you're saying is true. And I had a show, by the way, about natural law with a gentleman from Kingman that I will put you in contact. He's kind of, I would like say, an expert because he's been studying that for many years and he's been representing himself for many years. And I will give you the contact of him, of course. He's one of my guests. He's no lawyer, but at least you can ask him questions about that, how to represent yourself. At the same time, I realize we are living in this reality that at the end of the day, who makes the laws is the person, in this case the state, who has the bigger guns. So sometimes, unfortunately, we see many times that even when you have the Constitution on your side, when you have all the things that are supposed to be right, they don't even want to admit them in court. So I still say, in my opinion, I will still go through a good defense lawyer that knows the system. Not every lawyer necessarily is a scumbag. There are some good lawyers out there. I have one that, I know for sure because I know in person, and he's also been representing me in a federal lawsuit anyway, and his name is Mark Victor from Phoenix. But there are some good lawyers. At least they can give you, in my opinion, their the professional, educated answer. as a consulting, because we're talking about freedom here. We're talking about something that is not just a little fine. You're going to get a slap on your finger or on your wrist. For what I understand, you told me off the record, could be something that could, change your life for the worse. So definitely, I would go for both ways. I would also consult an attorney that can give you that. And I give you right now the name. I'm not endorsing him. I'm not getting paid by him. It's just something I would do for my brother, for my friends. His name is Mark Victor. I will send you a link, an email from Chandler, Arizona, close to Phoenix. And he's very strong. He's the guy that also represented, Pastor Anderson, the pastor that was unlawfully, beat up and detained by the Homeland Security because he lawfully refused to submit himself to an unconstitutional Fourth Amendment violation when it was already, so the guy has a lot of great record also for really defending our Bill of Rights. So Mark Victor for me would be the person. And of course, and there is any other out there, any lawyer in the county, Mojave County, listening to the show, I would, guys, offer yourself. If you got something that I don't know exactly your details of your situation, unless you want to say something more details, but you're facing anyway some sort of a felony, can we say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
and it's false. What's happened? It was false. I'm standing up for the truth, and that's what I understand is maybe has to go to a bigger court, which is de jure compared to these ones down here that are statutory and de facto. In other words.
I would definitely, I will send you the contact of my friend from Kingman that is an expert in these natural laws and all the situation with the bar, I understand. But at the same time, I would say, as much as all the things that this gentleman has been saying and proving with facts that they are unfortunately true, the system is still the system. And at the end of the day, you want to go back home and you want to be free. So, yes, I would like to contemplate both options. I don't want to just go for something that, you're right on paper and your morals are right, but then you're going to spend time in jail because the judge is going to laugh at you. And unfortunately, we know that is going to throw the Constitution in the wall. By the way, the name of the gentleman that I had on the show was exactly a show of September the 23rd of, the month of September. And his name is James Jones. James Jones from Kingman. I'll send you the link. You can listen to his interview in the archives. And hopefully I can send you also his email so you can be in contact with him. And maybe he can help you out. The guy is very genuinely interested into that. Anyway, anything else can I do for you in my humble position here?
For now, that's probably all I can really think of right now.
All right.
All good.
So you're a listener of the show. That's great. Tell me, what do you like about the show and what you don't like about the show? I'd like to know feedback here, please.
Well, I'm interested in all of it. The freedom, and then guns. That's great. That's tools. That's what we need to know and get educated on. That's what's really serious, big topic. How to take care of guns, how to use them, which ones are good, affordable.
Very good.
That.
And what's about the
love?
The love part? Are you single? Are you married? Or what are you, if I can ask you?
I'm single, looking for a good woman.
Okay,
just one good woman is all I need.
Perfect. So I would remind you to go to a service that also is free because I'm paying for it. It's called freedomlovers.us. It's probably you heard about that. It's a free dating website. Go there. Feel free to join. Upload your photos. No credit card request. Nobody's going to ask you for any dime. This is an act of love. My vision was to create a website dedicated to people who believe in freedom and they want to respect each other and they can find a place to network. And even if you're not looking for a boyfriend or a girlfriend, at least you can find friends. Let's put it this way. So I hope I can see you there, okay?
That's great.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, Darren.
Excellent.
Listen, I appreciate your call. And I would like to remind everybody out there, you want to be on the air, this is also your show. And I invite you, especially if you disagree with me. Seriously, I'm not kidding. I love that. I like to engage. I like to be engaged. And sometimes if you prove me wrong, I don't have an ego. I love that because it means I learned something new. And I'm humble to tell you, great. Thank you very much. So go to my website, lovegunsfreedom.com, and send me an email, and I'll get you in. Right now, a little bit of music, and then we go back into the hour of love. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Here we go, guys. This is the hour about love. And, unfortunately, I have to change a little bit the plan I had for today. After what happened a few days ago in Paris, I needed to reorganize a little bit the show. I would like to always to hear your feedback. I would like to hear from real experience, not just from what the news say, but what you see through your eyes. And thankfully now with the internet, we can reach out everybody out there. Europe, in my opinion, is not just opinion, but it's a fact. It's under attack. And unfortunately, as I said, this attack is not just by accident, but it's being planned. I really believe the governments of Europe, like our government here, even if it's not anymore our government, but still, the government is supposed to represent us. They are allowing a situation to be critical, to become critical. And this opening the gates to this uncontrolled, unchecked, unlimited almost number of people from countries that we know they are pretty much filled of these terrorists, okay, that have been trained, by the way, these terrorists we know, many of them like ISIS, who's been trained and also created by part of our government like the CIA and also the Pentagon, as we know from mainstream news. I really believe this is the plan to try to destabilize and create chaos. Now, I am from Switzerland, one of the places that honestly I love the most. If I had to live in Europe right now, the only place I would contemplate would be Switzerland. And I'm glad to have on Facebook a great lady that I consider also we have a lot of things in common according to what I see in her post. And I'm glad that we are Facebook friends at least. And I would like to bring her in directly right now from Basel, or Basel, I guess Basel. I always say Basil, like the one I put in my pasta. Anyway, from Basel, Switzerland, Victoria. Victoria, are you there? Victoria, I think I lost you. Let's try again. Let's try to bring Victoria back. I talk like a crazy about myself. Victoria, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. I just cut out right when you were speaking.
Perfect. Anyway, no problem. This is even better. So this is real, okay? I'm not just talking with the person next door. Victoria, what's going on right now in Basel? First of all, after this situation with Paris, how is the people in Switzerland, according to the news, are reacting? I mean, do you fear anything happening in your country, or you feel pretty safe there?
Yes, safe, yes, but, Basel is a home of Bank of International Settlements, big pharmaceuticals like Roche, Novartis, Syngenta, and many people don't realize that Basel is a kind of a mecca for banking. You don't hear of Basel like you do Zurich or Bern. And we have a lot of expats here. I'm an American from a military family. All the men in our family for generations are military. And so I've been talking to my husband, who's Swiss, a Basel native, about, getting guns. This morning now, after the Paris terrorism, we were talking, and he reminded me that the SVP party, I believe it's called here, it's more of it's a right wing for Swiss standards.
Okay.
And this last election, which just occurred a few weeks ago, this party, which is considered to be a more right party for Switzerland, has gotten more votes.
Okay, I understand.
And that being said, they are very, very concerned with the immigration. So it shows where Swiss people are at.
I remember about 18 years ago, before I decided to come to America, I had a girlfriend in Switzerland, and I remember how difficult it is, and I like that, it wasn't exactly everybody's welcome. You need to really follow the rules, and there are very strict rules to be there as a tourist or even as a resident. So how things are right now compared to Europe, where there are no more borders? Do you still have pretty strict rules to, let's say, be there in even to have access to come to Switzerland, or is an open borders like right now the rest of Europe?
It's not like the rest of Europe. And like I said, we also a few years ago had a vote against minarets, which are the, places where they call to prayer for Islam, and the Swiss people voted against having more minarets. And so that being said, it is it's very strict. It's a bit more difficult for people with a foreign interest to, have political action. It's a small country. It is a bit more regulated, and sometimes that's annoying being a citizen here for me coming from, America. But it's a small country, and it's a little bit easier to do, and to control.
Yeah,
so.
Sometimes I prefer to be annoyed than be, tortured or killed or
invaded.
or invaded, living like a foreigner in your own country. At least, you have an identity. And what I like about the Swiss people, they've been keeping, they are people that they're ready to defend their land. They are not shy, they're not afraid. But at the same time, they understand that I think it's almost the same philosophy of our founding fathers. Like George Washington, he said, we should never be involved in foreign wars. I'm just paraphrasing it. You want to trade with everybody, that's great, but we should not go out there and try to, do this sort of, alliances and, these things that now, unfortunately, America has been doing the last at least 100 years, and now, of course, even worse. And we are everywhere. We become an empire. We are not anymore a republic. So I really almost, a little jealous about the policy that the Swiss government has been holding, and the Swiss people, of course. Even, of course, they try to change it. Now, let's talk about guns, because I remember in Switzerland was one of the few places, I think it's still one of the few places, even it is not a right, because you still need to ask for a permit, but at least the average citizen has that opportunity to, first of all, serve in the citizen militia, at least in the, let's say, Swiss army that is composed by citizens, like used to be our militia. And also you still have access as a private citizen through permits, of course, but still you have a much easier access to guns for self-defense. Did you ever try to apply for a permit in Switzerland, for a gun permit?
Yeah, actually, it's just perfect timing that we caught each other for your show right now, because like literally this morning, my husband, I said, honey, go and check out that gun store in Liestel. Excellent. Because, and then he and I talked about it. I said, he said, well, okay. And, Swiss are very, cautious and conscientious people, tend to be, I don't want to stereotype too much, but they're very sensible. That's what I want to say. And so he said, well, I have to go first, and I'll go check out what they have at this store. But he said there's a possibility that I could get guns, perhaps a second hand. Maybe we'll go to the shooting range, but what we have to do is become a member. It's kind of, from what I gather, like clubbish.
Wow.
Which is definitely not a bad thing. Here you have archery clubs.
Yes.
And I think it's good because at these clubs is where information can be shared.
Oh, I
right?
understand.
You go to a gun club and you have to apply. And to answer your question, yes, you do have to, register and to apply. I'm sorry, I don't know how long it would take, but he is actually checking into that today, because after what happened in Paris, I said, this is ridiculous. All my life I've had guns in the house, and even when I lived in Los Angeles, I had a little gun,
Yeah.
Just as a woman to protect yourself if your apartment gets invaded. So, that's what we're doing and checking into it. But it is kind of a bit of a club atmosphere, I think, and what you said is right about the guys doing service.
Yeah,
all the young men.
What I used to like in Switzerland, when I was there, first of all, almost every citizen that is between the age 18 and 45 it's their duty, they're still part of the active militia, even if they don't, serve every day, but they have always their state, issue weapon. Normally it's a SIG 5.56, and it's in their house, and they have a certain amount of ammunition and gear, and they can be deployed anytime. And if there is an emergency, I'm sure that probably your square block, your neighborhood, is much more prepared than many areas in gun-free zones like in Chicago. That's a fact. Or the rest of Europe, okay? Because the average citizen out there was still part of the militia as their weapon in the house. So at least it's there, it's close, and it's trained. The person are trained. Then
I was just going to say that, they're trained. They're trained how to use the firearm, and that's really important.
Exactly. And as you were coming back to your point, whatever it takes, if in your culture, in your place where you are, the way you can obtain training is through a club, that's fine. That's better than nothing, If that's the way in your country there works, that's fine. At least you have an opportunity. Of course, I always believe that when the word club means that, after all, it is not something that everybody can have access, after all. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a club, It's still something selective. But that's part of Europe, It's different, It's not exactly like, in America, I don't need to be a club. All I need to have enough money, and I can go find instructors everywhere I want, from private schools, from site to private instructors. And ranges, normally, they are open to the public, There are no even clubs. But whatever it takes, you take now the responsibility and the decision, the moral decision that you don't want to be a victim, you and your husband. So the first thing, you already done it, and it's good. You have the mindset, no, I'm not going to be a victim. I want to have at least a chance, a plan. And you need, first of all, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and don't forget, the whole survival aspect too. I mean, we're average citizens, but, my brothers are avid hunters, in the States, gave us some longbows, and we're doing archery.
Yeah.
Because these weapons are, they're hobby. It's a wonderful pastime. But, if things happen, which things can happen so quickly as history repeats itself,
Exactly.
then you're ready to shoot and to and hunt, and you are prepared a bit, So we also are getting into archery, which is a really great pastime. If somebody isn't,
it's a great skill. It's a great skill. I would consider also a great skill because like you said, can be today something you do for sport. But what if tomorrow there is a really economic crisis, or there is a disaster, man-made disaster? I mean, now supposedly these terrorists, they are going out and they're just dropping bullets on people. What if next time they're going to be able to have maybe a mini nuke? And what would be psychologically, economically, and also in everything now we know as normal, everything, the infrastructures, food, production, and trades, you may be able maybe not to get anything at your store. So you got to live, at least you have resources around you. There are mountains. I think I lost her. Let me call her back. I mean, this is, we are live, connecting with Basel, Switzerland, with Victoria. Victoria is an American citizen that now, of course, is also living in Switzerland, is married with a Swiss man. Victoria, hi, I lost you. Anyway, what I was saying, it's a great skill, and you never know. Maybe one day it may be very important for you. Now, you have any idea which gun would you like to buy? You have any idea what gun would you like to buy with your husband?
I don't know.
Okay.
Know something. Do you have any suggestions?
Well, I tell you something. I don't want to sound like partial, because that's the gun normally I like and carry for many reasons. But since you're also next door to Austria, and for me one of my favorite guns, the one that normally I chose to train and carry, it's the Glock. I like the Glock. I'm sure there are probably many other guns that are better. I'm sure there are more ergonomics, and people can say, we can open debates. But what I like about Glocks is, first of all, is simplicity. It's simple. It's a gun that under stress, and you don't need to, of course you want to train, but you don't need to start to think about all these little buttons to push and, decocking or safety. The safety is your finger. That's the bottom line. Is accurate. is reliable, and they have very little parts, less parts than many other guns out there, and it's a gun that really works. That's the bottom line. Affordable. I mean, you could buy, for example, a SIG 226, okay? That they are really great guns. They're also used by a Navy SEAL, some of them, in 9mm. But I tell you, you pay double for that gun. I think she's gone again. Let me bring her back. 1 second. Let's see. Let's see if we can hold on this line with Victoria. Victoria from Switzerland. Victoria, are you still there?
Oh. Yes, I'm here. I'm not moving much. I'm trying to keep us online here.
No problem. That's okay. It's going to make it more interesting. Anyway, what I was saying, you can buy for the price of one SIG 226, one of these beautiful, Swiss handguns in 9mm. You can buy almost 2 Glocks. Okay, in my opinion, they do the job beautifully, and they're easier to train with.
Thanks for the input and the tip. I will definitely pass that on to Tony.
Yeah, say to Tony,
who happens to be half Italian.
Oh, great! And let him next time. Tell him to call me. I would love to talk to him. And
sure, yeah. Because
I tell you, most of the times people are gonna say, "Okay, I want to go with a revolver because it's easier." Okay, that's fine. But the Glock, with a little bit of extra training. And I think it's something also fun. You have many more advantages to have a semi-automatic with 17 rounds than have maybe a revolver with 5 or 6 rounds. So I really definitely would consider that for me the Glock, it's almost like as simple as a revolver, but with the benefits that you have, of course, first of all, more capacity. And also I believe in the caliber. It's very important, Revolver, normally you would go for a 38 Special or 357 Magnum. 357 Magnum, way too much power, too much recoil to control, especially if you are not trained enough. And in an urban environment could be very dangerous because you could over-penetrate. Let's say you hit a target, you could go through the person very easily. And then you go back to the 38 Special, that in my opinion is something that is not really worth it compared to what you could get from the 9mm, especially the new quality of 9mm hollow point for defense. So I think, to have a gun that would fit both ends, I don't know your hand how big you are, but let's say I would go for a Glock Model 19, that it's a little smaller than the Glock Standard 17. It's still something that's considered full size. It's not completely these sub-guns, but would be fit normally greatly in the hands of a woman. In case your husband has a little bigger hand, I would suggest for him to have a Glock 17, so you keep the calibers the same. You have the same 9mm, the same gun. You can train and share each other. The training is exactly the same type of dynamics. The ergonomics is the same. And then also another important thing, you can exchange magazines. When you buy a Glock 17, the magazine, it's a little longer than the Glock 19, and it still will fit in your Glock 19. Okay.
Oh, good. Okay.
So you can keep the ammunition together. You don't get confused. You don't want to have somebody as a 9mm, somebody else as a 40. That would be very dangerous. You can make a mistake and have a big accidents out there. So keep it simple. 9mm.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and it's a very affordable round. You can find 9mm in every part of the world, and you can get also very affordable full metal jacket for training. You want to consider also that, if you train, for example, with 38 Special, that they are inferior rounds for me, in my opinion, they cost much more than 9mm. If you train with a 40 or 45, you pay almost double what you would pay for 9mm. But then you buy, full metal jacket, just, target ammo for training. Then you can get the most good quality 9mm for self-defense. They are high-pressure 9mm hollow point that they are perform as well as a 45. So that would be my suggestion. Keep it simple. Go with a Glock. If you can buy 2 guns, look at your hands. Maybe if your husband has the same hand, you can buy both a Glock 19. That would be great. Otherwise, he can get a Glock 17 and you get a Glock 19. And tell him to call me. That would be great.
I will, because he can give even more information, about government things, probably a bit more factual than what I've covered.
And maybe
about here.
Maybe he served in the. I really would like to hear from him if he served into the Swiss Army. That would be something interesting to know.
Right. I'll let you guys talk, and you guys can talk about all that stuff because
Perfect.
I think what you're doing is really great. And when you mentioned 38 Special, I thought of the rock band from the 80s, 38
Yes.
Special.
Yes, I
Are you
remember
familiar?
them. Yes.
They rocked. They were real good.
Yes, I used to like
But,
a lot
your
the
music
80s.
sounds real good. I really like the music you put out, and to me, it has a touch of a Bon Jovi vibe, but it really is good stuff that you're putting out there. I really like it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Talking about 38 Special, my little story, just to 1 second, bypass the gun part. The first time when I came to America 18 years ago, I came, a friend of mine, her name is Elizabeth Sabine, is an older lady, and she used to be the vocal coach of many rock stars. She used to live in Hollywood. And, when I was in Italy, I used to be music publisher, and I published her vocal method book in Italy. And I also had her for different seminars around Europe. Anyway, bottom line, I came to her, and when I just came, I didn't have any place to go. She was my contact, so I spent 3 months there at her place. And the 38 Special singer used to be one of her students. In the
Really?
80s.
That's
Yes.
interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, she used to have also Axl Rose, Dave Mustaine, Dev Mustaine, different, many other famous rockers out there. So I used to like a lot
that whole era, they were really, if you listen to some of that stuff, I mean, they're very talented. I took it for granted when I was in high school, and I just saw Motley Crue. My husband called the radio station because I told him, I go, we don't do anything fun anymore. And he called the radio station and won us Motley Crue and Alice Cooper.
That's great. That's great. I saw your photos.
I'm sorry?
I saw your photo. You had a great time, I see.
Yeah, I mean, it was just nostalgic, because I was explaining to some Swiss friends at a work party yesterday. They don't really. Swiss is kind of a rock-free zone. I mean, they have a couple rock bands like Crocus and Gotthard, but it's just not really a rocker country. So I was explaining, this is nostalgia for me. This is what we grew up with. But mostly I was talking to them. I said, the level of musicianship of the 80s metal bands and even just rock, was so exceptional compared to some things that are coming out today. It wasn't all done on computers. And like you said about the vocalist, the vocals were exceptional. I mean, they really got trained by vocal coaches like Elizabeth I don't know her, but you're talking about.
Elizabeth Sabine, yes. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
they really put a lot of effort into their performance, live.
Yes, I agree. And, also part of our memories, our generation, probably, I don't know how old you are, but for me was the music I grew up when I was a teenager. So it kind of makes sense, I guess. Listen, I want to thank you very much for your time. And I want to give you, like normally I do to all my guests, 60 seconds. This is your microphone. You can say whatever you want. Go ahead.
Okay, well, be happy you're in Arizona because the margarita that I had last night sucked. It was small and it wasn't as good as what you get in the Southwest, let me tell you. I just want everybody to know, that I'm so pro-Constitution. Get the Bill of Rights handbook and just, brush through it on your train or a commute or whatever. Know your Bill of Rights, please, because I'm telling you, living over in Europe is wonderful and beautiful, but America needs to protect its Constitution at this time. And I just want to say sorry to all the victims in Paris. We're all thinking of all of the Paris victims at this time. And thanks for letting me be on the show.
Thank you, Victoria. Please say to your husband to call me. I would love to talk to him. And as you get your guns, I want to say guns with the S, hopefully more than one, give me a ring and we will talk about whatever you got, okay?
Okay.
Perfect.
Rock on.
All right, guys, don't go away. Now, final part of this show today, I'm going to change everything. I told you, even this show is being recorded, but I would like to talk, share just some basic act of love. This is the hour about love. And what is the strongest form of love? When you're ready to sacrifice your life for somebody else that you don't know, or somebody, of course, that you know it's your family. And when I heard stories like, some of these victims that they were murdered and slaughtered in that day in Paris, they were asking and begging to these bastards to say, please, spare my wife, spare my children, just take me. That's, for me, something that is the final act of love. I would like to talk about that, and I would like to talk about some basic logic ideas to prepare our mind, because at the end of the day, the most powerful weapon, it is not our guns, but it is our mind. And no matter if you're armed or not, if we have ever to face situations like that, we still have a lot to do. Our spirit of survival must kick in. Our mindset is our biggest weapon. So please don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna.
You're gone, far away, I'm all alone, that's my way. I remember the words we said, the last fight that we had. I feel sorry, baby, please don't be sad, please don't be sad. Time, it never stops, it fades away. All I have left is yesterday. I remember until I die, love shining in your eyes, all the dreams we had. But I made you cry, I made you cry. Life without you, I hope you don't miss me, baby, like I miss you. Inside of me, I will keep alive our memories and love until I die, until I die. Now that you're gone, far away, I'm all alone, that's my way. I just hope we could be friends. Every dream has an end. Oh, my love, now you're gone. Goodbye.
Hey, you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States with FM network. I always enjoy to have people from around the world, because this is not just a show that is broadcast right now here in this part of Arizona, of course, reaching California with Needles and Laughlin, Nevada. This is, for me, a show that belongs to all humanity, because after all, freedom, it belongs to everybody, and so love. And of course, guns, I wish belongs to everybody. Unfortunately, just in America, especially in Arizona, or states like Arizona, we have that right. Regardless, I wanted to talk about right now this final part of this final hour about love, the most powerful love. I was reading stories regarding this Paris attack, and I don't want to go down here if this was a false flag or not. I already told you during the first hour. Regardless, ISIS is being trained and funded by we know who. The Obama administration and people like McCain. That's a fact. Now I want to focus on the love part. When I read the stories that some of these people, the victims, they were on the ground and they were begging, not for their lives, but begging to live let their family members live, to beg, to say, please kill me, but do not kill my son, do not kill my wife, do not kill my girlfriend. That's for me the most powerful final act of love that any human being could give. Ready to give your life for somebody else. Think about that. This is not a movie. This is not some action movie or some horror movie. This is real life. And, think really the drama, that emotion, that final last few seconds. You see in front of you, your family die, being murdered, being slaughtered. And, maybe you're lucky if you go first. I don't know if you can call yourself lucky. But this is something that it's real. And I would like you just to meditate for a moment. Because unfortunately, evil is real. And sometimes, in our life, we forget. We get so used to the idea that never could happen to us. After all, cannot happen to me. And I say to many people and friends that I know, especially ladies, especially when you live in a place like Arizona, and you have guns. Great. But where is your gun? You forget it at home, or you don't carry it tonight, because maybe, I have my small purse, or you got, you don't feel like it. After all, you have a date. You don't need that gun. Please, think about that. Would you drive your car without your spare tire? Same story. This is going to get, unfortunately, worse and worse. More than, of course, let's not forget, statistically, you may never seen a terrorist attack in your life. Probably you're going to be hit before by, I don't know, a lightning or a thunderstorm or something, okay? Or maybe killed by a wasp. But the point is, can happen. Can happen. That doesn't even need to be a terrorist. Could be just evil scumbag. That's much more reasonable. Can happen much more. And evil is not going to play fair with you. It's not going to say, okay, now I'll let you go. You just say, ask me to forgiveness, or you just ask me for, spare your life. No. Evil loves to see you begging on your knees. That's why they're evil. I mean, I don't want to remind you the situation what happened with that family on the East Coast. There was a doctor when these two scumbags just released from prison, or I think they escaped, I'm not even sure. The point is they came and broke into this home invasion, and they raped and they burned alive the wife and the daughters of this man. And this man was a doctor and was able to escape. I don't know how can you live the rest of your life knowing that your wife and your daughters, they were crying and being raped and burned alive. And you could have the chance, if you were prepared, if you were a man, that you would have contemplated that. Unfortunately, not because you're cool, not because you live in a great neighborhood, or because, you're a good person, bad things not going to happen to you. So it's very sad. I feel sad for that man, believe it or not, because he's going to live the rest of his life maybe thinking, maybe what if I had a chance to be able to fight back. Doesn't mean that you're going to win, but at least you have a chance to fight back. And now we go back to the main point I wanted to bring, What if this could happen to any one of us? Like a situation like we are facing, we are out of the blue, we are in the middle of this act of terrorism. What should we do? First of all, I said, the gun, handgun, I don't care which gun you have. You can have the most expensive gun. You can be also the most, accurate marksman and, the most trained person. That's great. But at the end of the day, you are the weapon. You know what is the most important weapon? Is your mind. Your mind, and I also would like to say something that normally instructors don't say out there, it's your heart. Because your heart is the real engine that will give you the motivation to do things. You can have a good mindset. You can have the perfect warrior mindset. Great. But you must be motivated by love. To be ready to do whatever it takes to stop evil, even at your own risk, even ready to give your life if you have to. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't like to give my life unnecessary, especially when our life is very, important. Our families count on us. They want us alive. But if I had to think that I need to choose between me and my family, I would completely give my life without thinking about it. If I could save them. That's a fact. So as I said, I wanted to bring a little bit about how can we fight back if we're facing situations like that. And don't get me wrong, this is not G.I. Joe talking. This is Luca Zanna. I'm an average person. The only thing that I have, probably more than the average, that I dedicated my last, at least 10 years studying everything I can and educating myself in the art and science of self-defense with weapons. So I'm a good student. I call myself a professional student. And I like to have also had a chance through my radio show and all the different opportunity meeting the most experts out there to learn from any of them. So the first thing I'd like to say, before even we go into guns, we have to face a situation like we are in this middle of a crowd where we have this, normally they are, cowards, scumbags, people that they're armed and they try to prey on unarmed people. So first thing, mindset. If you have a weapon, would be the first solution. At least they don't expect it. Normally these bastards pick places where everybody's disarmed or unarmed. That's the bottom line. So the moment that you have a gun, you're already completely messing their life, messing their plan. You're giving a bad day. They didn't see it coming. So please, the first advice I would say, start to think, if you live in a state where you can have a gun, have it. Learn though, train. Don't just have a gun and say, okay, now if something happens, I will find out how to use it. No, you practice. You do the best you can. So that's number one. And more important, as I said, you may not have a gun. You may be probably just with a pen in your hand, or maybe with just nothing. You know what? When you realize that you're going to die no matter what, when situations like that happen, like in Paris, you're going to be dead no matter what. There's only the difference, though. You may still have a chance to at least fight back and maybe inspire others in the group of potential dead bodies that they say when they realize that they're all going to die. And after all, these scumbags, normally they're always a smaller number than you. Maybe you can inspire others to do the same action. If more of us, we act, instead of bow down and put ourselves on our knees, you completely fight back as an animal. Even just if you have to use your teeth, even if you have just to bite, scrape, scratch, do whatever you have to do. Show him that you don't care anymore. Seriously, I'm not kidding when I say use your teeth. That's one of the best weapons you have. Go for your throat, or for the fingers, or for the nose, or for the ears, or whatever. Rip them off. Look what Mike Tyson did, rip somebody's ears off. I'm not kidding. You're going to be dead anyway. But your mindset could be your final weapon. At that point, you try your best. Other solution, of course, if you have a chance, running, it's nothing bad. You want to preserve, at least keep the distance. Running is normally the way that you can be able to live another hour, maybe live another second and regroup, have a plan, and eventually, if you have a plan that makes sense, you can go back into the fight and try to help to stop the threat. So running doesn't mean that you're a coward. Running means at the same time you are living right now, you have a chance to escape this immediate attack. And at the same time, once you have a chance to regroup and be safe, you can articulate a plan. And then at that point, even if you don't have a weapon, maybe you can create a weapon. Look around. Anything become a weapon. I don't need to go into details now. Even a pencil, could be a weapon. A fork. If you're at a restaurant, maybe you're at the restaurant, you have a, steak knife. That's better than nothing. Seriously. So that's the bottom line. Start to have an open mind, and your mind must be your mindset. Completely supported by your heart. And I invite you right now, today, right now, while you're driving, or maybe you're listening to the show at your home, wherever, start to visualize. What if this is happen? It's happening. What would you do? You see this happen in front of you. You see your family's there, and they may be killed anytime. Have your mindset. Don't be a victim. The mindset that to say, you know what, I'm not going to flinch anymore. I already made my mental decision. When things like that happen, if I see out of the blue, let's say I'm a Safeway or I am a Walmart, I'm minding my business, and out of the blue I see somebody walking around with an AK-47 and start to shoot around, I don't need to think anymore. I'm not even going to have that second of split of, oh, maybe it's Halloween. No. If you walk around with a K-47, dressed like, Aladdin in the middle of the desert, or whatever, I don't care how you dress, you start to shoot at people, I don't even need to think. There is no more debate, there is no conversation, there is no reasoning. I reach for my Glock, I point on the front side, and I'm going to blast you with every round I have. Meanwhile, I'm running. Now, I'm not going to be there steady like a target. I'm going to move and shoot and reloading if I have to. I already made up my mind. I already went through that. And in case for any God reason, I don't know, I may have forgot my gun in my house. Almost impossible, because if I may forget probably my pants first, because my gun is automatically attached to my pants every time I wake up in the morning. But regardless, I may come after you if I have to with probably, I don't know, with anything I see around. So that's the bottom line. The mindset you created now. Visualization is one of the most powerful things. There are many, I don't know how you call them, psychologists or whatever, that they say, if you can see it in your mind, you can make it happen. Also many coach, for life. And it's true. Everything I've done in my life, I always visualize it first. And then I was able to create it in my life, in my business, in my dreams, even coming to America. I was a dreamer. I visualized it when I was a when I was a child. I wanted to write songs when I was 11, 12. I was able to do it, and many other things. So my point is, visualize what you could do, and then train in the real life, practice, and buy the tools. Remember, the gun is just an extension of your body, of your mind, and of your soul. And it's just a tool to fight evil. As I said, many people out there, they may be anti-guns, or they have some sort of homophobia, or they feel like, oh, a gun. Guess what? The gun is not to kill, but to save a life. That's the way I look at it. It's not to take a life, but to save a life. And if you want to be a victim, it's a free country after all. You do what you want. But don't tell me that you're subhuman, very, I would say, emotional, mental disorder. Seriously. If you believe that carrying a gun for a lot of body in season it's dangerous, you are completely a person that needs some help. Look what happened to all these gun-free zones. Look what's happening in Paris. Look what's happening in Europe. Okay? Or any place where guns are not allowed by the government or by some private business. They're exactly where these evil bastards flourish. So, if you want to be continuing, if you're some sort of, whatever you want to call yourself, Democrat, liberal that does not believe in the Second Amendment, guess what? That's fine. But just, you're free to be a victim if you want to. That's fine. But use some logic for a moment. Use your brain. Just don't repeat the phrases from your leaders, politicians, that after all, they have plenty of bodyguards. I would like to ask, to Hillary or to Obama that they want all gun controls, when they're going to give up their bodyguards. Yeah, right. Try to go close to Hillary Clinton or to any of these politicians that are against for gun control. Let's see if they don't have at least, a dozen of bodyguards heavily armed and trained. So that's the story. That's the story, guys. Please think about it. Don't take anything for granted. And this is just an humble opinion from a guy with an accent, after all. Okay? And more important, it's an act of love. Saving a life, it's an act of love. It's a decision that you must make today. And I still pray, I want to pray for every victim out there, not just for the Paris victim, for all the victims in the world, that there are somehow results of evil. Evil, it's on this planet right now, like it's been since the beginning of times. I really believe now it's happening in almost a prophetic way. And, I don't need to preach, as I said, but I really believe we are living in very prophetical times. All right, if you want to support the show, I said many times, the show, it's free, and I can speak here whatever I want. First of all, I thank the station, of course, but also on the internet, and because I can be here and use my time, dedicate many hours of my life that I pretty much take away from my business, for the things I do, because I have the support from listeners like yourself. And you can be anywhere in the world. You can help this show. And I want to give you the chance to be, can be your show. You can say whatever you want here. There are no restrictions, okay? So all you can do to support me, one of the things you can do, you can go to one of my websites, like for example, Zanna, ZANNA.us, and you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. Even just 99 cents, downloading a song, you really show me your support, and I appreciate what I'm trying to do. And I appreciate it in this way I can keep this show free, and I don't need to beg for corporate sponsors. Now, for today, it's enough. I'm tired. I need a glass of wine. You've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. God's willing, I'll talk to you next Sunday.
Thank you.